Oh, what's happening?
Hey,
There. Can you hear me? You hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we're already rolling.
Oh,
What is going on? Live. We are live. Oh, what a rip rockin' entry we always have. What's been going on this week? Are you playing video
bunch
games?
of Mormon stuff.
Oh yeah, that's been happening. That keeps happening all the time.
Somehow it just keeps happening. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a fight with about the wage gap with a bunch of jackasses on uncensored LDS, and I just need to fucking stop because it's just too fucking retarded. But
Another
if
one?
well, just because like I don't know. Part of the reason I keep fighting is because it is proving my original point. Because like
Where are
this
you doing it?
uncensored, uncensored
Oh,
LDS
okay.
Mormon.
I never know because it might just be like right square in the LDS world these days.
Yeah, no,
You're
it's
an
just yeah,
oppressor of
no.
women? Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, no, I've been accused. I hate women. I'm an oppressor. I'm all these things.
Oh,
Can
that's
you
going
guess
on right
why?
now
Yeah.
because of the wage gap?
Because I don't believe in the wage gap. I don't believe in the feminist claim that the specific feminist claim that women earn X percent of men for the exact same work. And the reason I don't believe that is A, there's no evidence for that proposition, and B, all of the available data has for decades proven that that isn't true. But like my whole point is that it's an article of faith of feminism. It's an article of faith. It's unassailable, just like any other article of faith. You
Obama said it one
if
time, didn't you know?
Oh, he sure did. Yeah, but like it's just like anything else that any other religious person believes that is essential to their faith system. They are utterly and completely immune to facts. And it's like and again, like I've brought up so many times, it's one of these things where it's like, wouldn't you think it's good news? Like if you were walking around thinking, my God, every woman in America is getting just jerked out of 20% of their earnings because of the patriarchy, because it's just nasty, evil people. Like, wouldn't
See
you
that?
be relieved to find out, like, oh no, it turns out that women actually are getting paid exactly what they earn, and women have the freedom to do what they want? Isn't that good news? But no, no, it's not good news to them. No, they don't like that.
How dare you?
They want to live in they need their persecution fantasy, because without it their motivations become meaningless. Like I've been told, like I mean, a guy that he stands for the oppressed against me. That's what's going on right now
He
in
said
uncensored
that?
LDS. Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, he said that. I'm a POS. I hate women. I'm a misogynist. All
And the
these
women are the oppressed that he's standing for?
Yeah, no, he's standing up for the oppressed women of America, the most
Wow.
privileged demographic in the history of planet Earth. Is a modern American female.
Man, oh man. Why can't we set these people straight? Why can't I teach you these kids? Um, I swear on my
Yeah.
life.
The other day, I was talking to one of my part timers. I was asking him about work, and he wasn't being backtalk. He's kind of a silly guy. He was like, "Are you managing me?" And I don't know why, but I just slipped into, "Are you managing me? Are you
Are you,
managing me right
are you
now?
managing me?
Do you think you're managing me?" And
Oh man. Yeah, I made this meme. It actually appeared on like I guess some LDS guys podcast. Kevin found it. Who's that
oh,
white guy?
nice.
And they showed it. Debunked the Bible basher with data. Debunked the CRT with the data. Streeter made the images. He's been making a bunch of images of people like these ones that we see right here. Mormon
Right
crap this
now,
week.
I've never wished to be a billionaire more than now, because if I had the money, I would just be buying every billboard and advertising space in Harriman and putting up our McClellan memes. Like,
Around where he lives.
yeah, like just it would, yeah.
That would be fun
And
to
then
do.
like, and just like hashtag blocked by McClellan. Like,
Where's this other one? He had one that was the bride of prophylaxis. Let me see if I can find it.
prophylaxis.
Oh man, he's got a bunch of good ones. Bunch of good ones.
Is
But
Jared
there's too
hopping
much
on
of them.
today?
Jared is not gonna be able to make it tonight. He said he's sad because he
No.
listened to I mean, there's so much going on, but oh man, look at the. Oh, I can't. You don't have the screen on right now, right? Dang it! I've got way too many things to go through. Yeah, I don't know where he's at tonight, but he said he couldn't make it on. But he wanted to talk about the obispo, the bishop, showing up on John DeLynne's podcast tonight, which or today, which was kind of interesting. But here it is.
Does anybody want to hop on and be third wheel?
We can move. We could stick the thing on there if anybody wants to. Hola, Risto. How do they say R's in Finnish? I should know that. I think it's like got like oh, here it is. The Blythe rhetorical prophylaxis. Oh man, yeah, I could I'll put the thing in there if anybody wants to come in. Invite, copy. Can I just do that? Can I just stick it in this thing and see if it works for anybody?
We're new at internet.
There it is. That's the link if anybody wants to try to pop in. We're going to be talking tonight about, I guess there's a bunch of more fallout from Jacob Hansen stuff, and then DeLynne had on the bishop, the influencer bishop. I just barely heard from Steve Pinecker that he's going to have him on next week, and he says that he's going to get more into how he is definitely not woke. Which would be interesting to hear. He had one way of talking today that was a little bit interesting. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. There's been a bunch of Jacob Hansen fallout, and then maybe talk about, I don't know, I got some subjects here. If you want to talk Trump and women don't lie. You know, women don't lie. You oppressor, right?
Yeah.
You
they can't possibly lie.
Trump was accused of the rape, and we had a fallout with Jim Bennett. Jim Bennett has blocked us all now from commenting on his Twitter because just because of the Trump thing. Anybody who doesn't go right down the line with that Trump rape case, you're you're out.
That's right. Yeah, I'm just here to mention Tara Reid and get banned.
Yeah,
and it worked. It worked,
and you got banned.
Yeah, no, essentially, like it's like the guy's so shameless.
Where we'll go first is the Trump rape allegations. Can you say rape? Are we gonna get demonetized and lose all our money?
Yeah, I really wonder because we talk about suicide.
It's because we're not monetized at all. We're a billion miles away from it. Those are just the people who are worried about getting demonetized.
There's one thing I hate watching YouTube nowadays because all of the true crime documentaries, they have to edit, they'll just drop out the audio for one syllable of a word and all this stuff. It's what the fuck planet are
people say all sorts of stuff like pedo computer files or something like that to you cut out the two words, and then there's all these code words for talking.
Yeah, and it's just and I just how is that?
Crazy enough, that's how a lot of slang got invented in the world. You know how Cockney slang got invented that way? Cockney slang was always if you were talking about a drug, you said something that sounded like a drug and then rhymed it, and that's where most Cockney slang came from. Your drug is also a pill, a bill. Will you get me a bill? Will you get me a bill or something like that? And that's how all Cockney slang came about.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Because it didn't make a lot of sense until you had somebody explain it to you. I could probably find a video that explains that better. But look at these. Let's get back to it. It's so good. I get to debut Jonathan's art, and he should be debuting it himself all over the place. He's the one making these things. But let me see here. Trumpiness. Let me see if I can find right when we went at Jim Bennett. Oh, look at this. We pulled this up earlier. Dan McClellan's new shirt idea. I am not a theologian. McClellan. I want to get that shirt and wear it around town and have people ask me, what the living hell is your shirt? And well, don't you know, it's all sorts of people accuse this random TikToker about being a theologian. He says, no, I'm not. And that's my shirt, man.
But it's such a weird Yeah, I don't quite understand his angle, except that it's the same thing where it's like, well, you pontificate like a theologian.
Why would I want to wear a
You
shirt
are
around like that?
you are immune to criticism like a theologian. Like,
I want that shirt so bad because it's so dumb of a shirt.
Yeah, it really is bad. Yeah, I watched this thing.
Blog today, but the news broke. The verdict in the E. Jean Carroll second defamation case. If anybody thinks this is justice, you are idiots, pure and simple. If anybody likes this just because of the political consequences, you are scoundrels, pure and simple.
I posted this on Jim's Twitter feed. I don't know.
E. Jean Carroll, the woman who is, in my humble view, batshit crazy, names her cat after a venereal disease, vagina T fireball, fabricates a story out of whole cloth that occurred 2.5 decades ago, has no physical evidence of it, says that she would not file charges for the assault because when you listen to her justification, it's going to blow your mind and you're going to realize you're dealing with a crazy person.
Would you consider bringing a rape charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border, who are being raped around the clock down there. But for the women down there, and for the women actually around the world.
Says she's not going to file criminal charges, but sues Donald Trump civilly in New York, possibly one of the most corrupt jurisdictions in the world, wins in the first trial, and then sues for defamation in the second trial because Trump took to Truth Social to post how she's crazy, how he never met her before, how the story is a total lie, and she sues him for defamation again. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, after the first jury found that Trump did not rape her in the Bergdorf changing room 2.5 decades ago, but sexually assaulted her such that when he denied it, it was defamation and awarded her damages for the alleged assault and the defamation. And then she sued him a second time when he continued to deny it and protest his innocence. They had a trial. And when I say that the mainstream media is the enemy of the people, it's only because they are the enemy of the people. He had a trial in which the guilt was already a foregone conclusion. And quite literally, the trial was only to adjudicate on how much he would have to pay her. And that amount came down today. But before we get there, NBC News was reporting that Trump testified. And he testified briefly. The headline reads, Trump testifies briefly in the trial. And then it's only when you go into the article and read why he testified briefly that you realize the system is corrupt, the media is corrupt, and they are the enemy of the people. He testified briefly because the judge largely restricted what Trump could say in his own defense in court. So you head into a trial.
Weird.
It's so outrageous. And then they ordered 83 million. And I have a clip of it. I don't know if I'll get to it, but they have a clip of her like saying that she's going to go out and buy a bunch of new wardrobes and stuff.
She's going to do. She said she's going to spend it on something Donald Trump hates. It's like, okay, so now we know this has always been vexatious. Thanks for making that clear.
Oh,
but I'm also like, I didn't know, like, because it's later on in that video. I didn't know, like, obviously, like, fucking media wouldn't touch it. But she's on. He plays that clip of her in some interview where she says, "Well, of course, women have rape fantasies."
Yeah, yeah. And
like,
she says,
"Oh,
I think rape is sexy." She says to
oh, that's right. Yeah,
Anderson
like,
Cooper.
Yeah. Well, rape's sexy.
Think of it, isn't it kind of hot?
Like,
and
okay, there you go.
That's good enough for Jim Bennett to call anybody who doesn't land right on board with this whole entire thing. Says if you're not upset about Trump's proven record of sexual assault, then you really have proven is that.
Oh, that's the other thing I got blocked for. Is it said proven? I'm calling your bluff. And,
yeah.
You know.
If you're not upset about Trump's proven record of sexual assault, then you really have no credibility when you pretend to be upset about any sexual misbehavior anywhere. You're demonstrating that you're happy to overlook rape when your tribalism tells you to. Tribalism, whoa. Tribalism.
You don't say, Jim. Tribalism.
So I asked there, you see, who is terror?
I love particularly with Jim. I mean, it's very common with these people. Like they accuse like us of being in the tribe and being in the tribe. And they do this by simply assuming that we're Republicans, thus betraying you are the tribalist, Jim. You're the one who sees it as us versus them. You're the one who says
people continued arguing with me, and I kept saying to them, like, even the Tara Reade stories hearsay. Like, there's more credibility. There's more possibility of the Tara Reade thing happening. There's more evidence that they knew each other and that she had mentioned something to somebody beforehand. There's way more possible evidence, and it's still just hearsay. I was saying to them, it's still just hearsay.
They have they cannot prove that E. Jean Carroll and Donald Trump were ever in the same room together.
Well, then her story
there's no evidence of that.
It like matches like a CSI story, and like the place she said she got raped was in like the crazy busiest department store of New York at the time frame. And stuff just doesn't happen like that in the place where it happens. And then there was I think I have it here. There's other things about it that were impossible. Let's see here. Oh, Barbie. I got Barbie stuff.
I did see that somebody pointed out that like a bunch of women of color got a bunch of minorities and women of color got Oscar nods, and a white woman didn't, and feminists got pissed off.
That's what it is, pretty much.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Cannot win.
She couldn't recall the date, month, season, or year the incident happened. She never told anyone about it, despite being publicly obsessed with her own sexuality. The dress she claims to have been wearing didn't exist at the time. Her description of the dressing room at Bergdorf Goodman was inaccurate, making her sequence events impossible. Her lawsuit was bankrolled by Jeffrey Epstein, pal, and Democrat Nikki Haley mega donor Reid Hoffman. Democrats created a law, the Adult Survivor Act, in 2022 to enable her lawsuit to proceed. Her accusation is the exact plot line of an episode of Law and Order, one of her favorite shows. Trump's Apprentice was also one of her favorite shows.
Oh my God, this is so obvious what happened.
She has a history of falsely accusing men of the word that we can't say. She told Anderson Cooper, most people think rape is being sexy. Think of the fantasies. Think of the fantasies. She made a career promoting promiscuity, even writing glowingly of sexual assault and calling her cat vagina. I think that's it. Yeah, it was out of control. But
and mainstream media had no interest in any of that, none whatsoever, in any of those little, not relevant, not part of the story.
Nope. But
kind of.
So
like
I say, "Who is Tara Reid?" And he blocks me. He says she's a Russian agent and blocks me. No tribalism there.
A Russian agent.
No tribalism there. And then some other people link a story saying that she defected to Russia. See, she's a Russian agent. You know, I'm like, all sorts of people from that uniparty psychos who are pulling lawfare on everybody in the world are defecting to Russia to get away from them. You know, the same place that who was the that's where the WikiLeaks guy winked, and that's where
Snowden,
dude who what's the name?
Edward Snowden.
Snowden, yeah.
Yeah, he went to.
But yeah, I guess you can just call anybody a Russia agent nowadays and then get mad at Ezra Taft Benson. He said there's commies everywhere. Do you guys everybody's a Russian agent?
I didn't even think of that angle.
It's drives me nuts. They always just say Ezra Taft Benson thought there was things going on. And I'm like, you guys are the biggest Russia infiltrator freak shows that ever existed. Oh man. So anyway, Jared and you and everybody else pops on and starts going after him too, saying, yeah, you guys all got blocked too. What did you say? You said, just here to mention Tara Reid, and then Jared said something else. He got blocked. We all got blocked. Yeah. And we got blocked out of the least tribal place in the world. The guy who shows ex-Mormons and Mormons how to communicate. That's his brand. At least so I'm told.
He's here to show us how to do discourse properly.
He taught us how to do the discourse. Now we're doing the discourse right. Dang, where did it go? Yeah, you can just believe me that we all got blocked. I had pictures of it. I got too much stuff. Anyway, so women never lie. That's part of the wage gap stuff. There's never a lie ever once been told. And so we got about to like pulling up some stories, but we all know those stories, right? We all know there's plenty of stories of a guy who went to prison for 6 years, a football player, his name Brian Banks. We had that baseball player that we covered just a little while ago, lost his whole career, and the lady was bragging about it on her cell phone. But yeah. But Jim Bennett says we have no credibility about worrying about sexual assault whatsoever if we don't buy that story. Are you still arguing with the wage gappers?
Oh yeah. I need to stop.
What's the current argument?
No, like, so the thing is, like, we're really into the retarded world now, because like they sent me links where they're like, wage gap persists, and I read their links, and there's always the paragraph that says, well, and this is actually attributable to choices women make, and I'm like, there you go, and they just keep going like, they just keep standing on it, like, nope, 20%, 20%, 20%. I'm like, okay, 20%, but it's not because of discrimination or oppression or patriarchy, any of that. It's because women make choices, and they just keep going 20%. They like just basically screaming it in at me in internet form, and it's like, yeah, it's like it's literally that retarded. Like it's full retarded, and then like, and my whole point is like, this is how faithful people act. You were being a religious apologist. You know, there you go. Like this is it.
So there it is. I'm all blocked. I can't see. It's kind of sad. I can't see Jim Bennett's stuff anymore. Then Jared went after him. Says, do you have any interest at all in engaging with those who push back? Half the people I talk to hear of you, the moment they find you on Twitter, they're somehow pre-blocked. This is all in the guise of him talking about who's being tribal. Oh, there's you. I'm just here to mention Tara Reid and get blocked by you for pointing your raging hypocrisy and dishonesty. Proven? I'm calling your bluff. Down in Cornell blocked you.
Yep.
The model.
What is Stallion Cornell?
The model.
What is Stallion Cornell? Did he go to Cornell?
I don't know.
Is he school bragging?
I guess. Who is that guy? Are you asking about Jim Bennett?
Yeah, he's Jim Bennett. He's Rob Bennett's son, and he's possibly Mormonism's biggest fuckface. Like, yeah, easily worse than Dennis Lang, and Dennis Lang is pretty bad. Yeah, I think Jim Bennett might be like the biggest turd in like at least in public Mormon discourse. He's just awful, and I'm like seriously, like he's profoundly hypocritical, like shockingly, just absolutely shamelessly hypocritical in that what he will attack people for while doing the things he's attacking people for. It's hard to, I cannot overstate how hypocritical he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, and
well, he's a
pontificating
politician.
Well, yeah.
That's what politicians
Did
do.
anybody look and see how he did?
We saw it. They took third place.
How many votes did he get?
It was like 7,000 votes or something. But Riso asked if we're familiar with the straight edge punk core scene in Salt Lake City. Are you talking about the movie Salt Lake City Punk, or is there like a current day recurrence of
the old school the straight edge scene from back in the 90s?
Are you talking about the 90s one? And we sort of knew it, but I think it was a little bit overplayed in that movie still too. But,
like I remember there were straight edgers in my high school. They were like, the whole point is that they skated and made bad tattoos and didn't drink and were high and mighty about it. I don't know.
The thing is, like any sort of demonstration of crazy huge parties in Salt Lake City too is always overblown. I don't think there's ever been such thing as that big of crazy big parties. But
yeah.
Pretty shocked by the description of violent moshing. I wonder. The craziest mosh pit I was ever in, and it was in the 90s, was the Violent Femmes with a couple acoustic guitars, and I almost died, and so did almost everybody else. But jibber jabber mumbo jumbo tribalism. They took psychedelics in the Garden of Eden first, so there's that. I feel like the Trump trial is a bad version of the Kafka trial. Yeah. Troy says he knows what the name was. Stallion Cornell was a joke name Jim adopted in high school as a joke. It's deliberately smarmy. I heard him talk about it in an interview.
Well, then it fits. If he thinks he's being ironic, it's not working. He is smarmy. He is a credentialist. He really is a holier than thou type.
When's the resigned bishop coming on the show? I don't know. Maybe we'll talk him. I just talked to Steve Pinecker. Just mentioned to me that he's gonna have him on his show. We gotta start talking about it. I've got clips of the show today, and I'm half on the guy. I'm like not all down on the guy. I'm not all up on the guy. I think there's a little bit of some excitement on his leading, but the dude is still so in bishop mode. I'll show you some bishop mode if you ever.
Yeah, like I watch you guys commenting on it because it really strikes me. I mean, I made a joke. I can't remember. It's funny. Like on the one hand, it's just funny how the ex-Mormons are, because on one post on Uncensored, I'm 80 comments into a fucking war with retards. Meanwhile, somebody posted a thing about that bishop leaving, and I said, this guy puts more effort into performing than Marilyn Manson, and everybody loves that. They're all loving me for that one.
He's full bishop mode. I mean, maybe we can go into that now because I mean, I got the clips. First, I wanted to point out there was a bunch of follow-up videos on Jacob Hansen. We can pull that stuff up too, and what those guys said, and I guess Bill Reel's mic drop on calling. You know, they're just so giddy about being sure that Jacob Hansen's wrong on this one. But there was an episode from Mormon Stories this week where they went and stalked Charlie Bird and his husband. They went to his ward to see if he was taking the sacrament or not. Gerardo and Carroll went to his ward to watch him for it. And then I just barely found out tonight. I went to go clip it and they edited it out. I've got the spot where they edited it out. But when I heard it, I was like,
so
what
Charlie Bird is
doing?
What, a gay married Mormon that supposedly, that I mean, I shouldn't say supposedly, but the report is that he's getting the sacrament. He has callings in a sacrament. He and his husband. Is that the guy?
Yeah. And so they went. Look here. I'll pull it up. It's right at this moment right here, and I can tell you exactly what they said because I tried to clip it live, and I guess the clip option doesn't work when you're watching live or something like that. I tried 3 or 4 times to clip it because I knew it was going to get edited out. They're just talking about it like, oh, it's no big deal. We're just going to go check it out. Where'd it go? The whole thing's called Married Gay Mormons Take the Sacrament Receiving Calling, but it was somewhere right around 23-25. Right here is where the edit is.
I decided to go to their word and actually see it for myself because I was like, I'm not going to be accused of spreading rumors. Yeah, so
there it is. It was like 5 minutes taken out, like right there. And he talks about.
Did you comment like, "Hey, what'd you guys cut at 23-27, huh?"
Oh, what like my comments here. What was cut at 23-27, fellas? But it's just going to go down a rabbit hole. I mean, nobody ever.
A member in church.
Yeah. He said that he and Carroll went to their ward. When they got to the ward, he mentioned like it seemed like all rich people. I saw so many
dirty
rich people, and all this stuff. I couldn't believe it. And I got there and I looked around and I couldn't see him, and it was just a waste of time. And oh my gosh, why do we do this? It's such a waste of time. But then surely enough, they walked in, and part of me was like, they were mentioning that they'd had lunch with him or something before, and he was denying having had lunch with them. That was right here. Look at this. This is them talking about Delin.
But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, like
Charlie's on the left,
and I felt like the worst.
So you're realizing that you're the worst. At the same time, there are like rumors about you, and I hear about them all. There's even a whole podcast episode about you and me.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about that podcast.
You know,
I still haven't listened to it.
Do you actually not want to talk about it?
No, like, like I'm just like, ugh. Because yeah, like I think that's a testament to the social pressures that I was feeling, because I'm hearing those rumors too. And
this podcast was funny because like 3 people who have never talked to us talking about us for an hour and a half.
And I didn't listen to it, but I mean, and honestly, that's been happening like ever since I came out. There's like people saying things about me that aren't true.
He's talking about the Lynn right there, but
and just for the record, I have met and had dinner with Charlie Bird.
Yeah,
so that's not true.
Likewise with Charlie and Ben.
Yeah,
anytime.
So. And Gerardo.
Well, yeah. So
they're denying that they met him, and then those guys are saying, "Yes, we did too meet him." But so supposedly they met him, and then now they're going off to reward to stalk him to see if they're taking the sacrament or not.
Okay, so that's weird.
What are they doing? Like,
I don't understand why either party would lie about that in that situation. Like when John lied about meeting you and I, John Larson, I should say, when John Larson lied about meeting you specifically, like we understand why he told that lie because he got caught. Yeah. And so he lied to get out of the cat. Like, but this is the thing I don't understand. Why is somebody lying about this? It's weird.
Yeah. Steve was in a mosh pit and pooped his pants. Sorry, Steve. That's pretty funny.
That's why I don't go to Taylor Swift concerts.
Poop in a mosh pit can be good. Yeah, it smelled horrible. What are you guys talking about? I think Jacob's probably wrong about stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I think maybe we should start a sacrament SWAT crew who drives around and see. Let's go see if we can catch if Jacob Hansen's actually taking the sacrament or not. Let's drive around and do this. Mormon Stories SWAT crew.
Center Watch. What should we call it? The morality police.
Morality police. Are you keeping your oath, police?
Oh, no, we'll call it the Kara's Brigade.
The Kara's Brigade. Anyway, on to the Obispo. The Obispo. We talked all day long. I mean, like I said, there was some parts of it where like I was definitely feeling like some compassion for the dude. I wasn't like straight down. One thing I liked about him is that he didn't. I was expecting it to be his main reason for leaving, totally like a social justice reason, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was his main reason was First Vision stuff, and it was truth claim stuff. I'm like, well, that's a kickback, you know.
That's refreshing.
Yeah, and kudos on it being something like that instead of
you're bothered by facts and not morals. Okay,
yeah, that was a shocker because I was kind of expecting it to be the other thing, and it was not. But
it's always nice to be surprised.
Yeah. Let's see here. He talks about leaving Mormons and can't leave them alone. And then let me see if I can pull it up. Oh gosh, darn it. Hey Charlie.
Charlie dog.
I was gonna come say hi to me. I haven't even hi buddy.
Charlie Bird can be the first gay Mormon.
Yeah, didn't see me for a little bit. Hold on. But where to go? Here it is. Takes me forever to get around this stuff, man. Wait, there's somebody took up our Kevin's in the house.
Kevin's in the house.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Brad.
Did you watch the Obispo on Mormon Stories, Kevin?
The what?
You're a little bit faint, but
yeah,
not much.
Did you hear what we were just talking about? We were just talking about Kara and Gerardo staking out if people are actually taking sacrament or not.
Oh yeah, I kind of heard you talking about that.
Just like something public shaming, something Kara and Gerardo. You fuckheads. Oh man, that was so funny. That was another fight I got into earlier. Right? That was another fight I got into earlier this week on LDS Uncensored, because they're talking about the whole thing about public shaming, and I brought up, oh, you mean like feminists and that, and like it's just funny because like they're like misogynist, and I'm like, case in point, right there you go. Like you can't help yourselves but proving my case for me. I don't know why you guys are so spastic, but they just are.
All right, let's zip through some of these clips. I'm going to give them some props here.
Let's begin with intentions, because different people tend to make different assumptions as to why someone would come on Mormon Stories podcast, and they're almost always wrong, especially if those people are kind of Orthodox believers. So Nick and Amanda, do you each want to start by just sharing why you wanted to come on Mormon Stories and tell your story? Nick, you go first.
Okay.
Well, we're hoping to grow our TikTok channel.
This was never meant to be a public thing.
Exactly wrong, Flip.
Lie!
Exactly wrong.
That's
We've
weird.
shared this with a few friends who would actually take the time to listen to us, who are still in the church. I'd actually wanted so badly to do it the week prior, but it was Christmas Eve.
I didn't have somebody that could hold the iPhone and record the video for me, so I had to put it off for a week.
The spirit of it all. But it was giving me terrible anxiety to come to the church building and to serve as the bishop for several months, because of some truth claims that I've come to understand were just not accurate. And so we waited for the following week. It was New Year's Eve.
You and your wife?
Just let the ward know. And that was my full intent, was to let the ward family know that I loved them and that I just couldn't do it anymore. Little did I know that my younger sister, she actually came just to visit. She didn't even know I was planning to step down until that morning. Mm-hmm. But she recorded it.
Oh, his sister.
Now, I had asked my wife
This
to
is your
do an
recorded
audio
it?
recording just in case I said something that would get me in trouble. I could always refer back to it and share with.
I
whoever
don't
complained.
buy that.
But,
I
she
don't
made a
buy
video and
that.
sent it to
Press X for that.
my family, my brothers.
Yeah, because like
and
that
brother,
doesn't
sister.
explain why you published it. If you recorded it to cover your ass, that makes sense. The fact that you immediately published it belies that. Like, there's just no way around that for me. Like, I can accept the claim that you recorded it to cover your ass, but that's if somebody comes out and makes an accusation, then you release the tape and embarrass them. The fact that you immediately released it tells me that you intended to make this public from the beginning.
Yeah.
And my older brother, who I love,
Okay, so it's his brother who shared it.
posted it on Reddit. And he sent me a screenshot of it saying this thing's blowing up. And I instantly panicked and I asked him to take it down. And he did. He was totally respectful. He said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't think about that." And we went to bed that night thinking this thing would just disappear. And we woke up the next morning to find that there were about 500 million views, or not 500,000 views. And it was growing.
How was that reposted or something?
I don't know. Okay, so he's saying his brother did it without. Is his brother a member? Like, this still doesn't. It just doesn't. None of it sits right. It's just a little too put together.
Risa asked, if you're leaving, do you need a seat? Cover your ass video. I know that Jonathan talked to us once that Jeremy Runnels, when he was getting excommunicated, wanted one. Like some people, like we've been critical of like people who go and film this stuff of no, don't throw me out of the briar patch. But Jonathan talked about that Runnels was actually concerned that something would be said different than what actually happened.
Yeah, no, and like I mean, I appreciate that he recorded it because like he really did put him on the spot. Like they wouldn't say what it was really about.
Steve says here, like my actions usually have at least a grain or more of selfish, of stupid motivation. Yeah, I mean, there's
fair enough.
If it's a grain or not, I mean, I think he knew that this was and then obviously if like you're gonna like spin that into a media thing that you're obviously spinning. I mean,
yeah, because that's the other thing. Is like if you were upset that it blew up, the answer is say I have no comment and go about your life. You don't go on Delyn's podcast.
Yeah, and he said that it would upset his family members that he was on this podcast and stuff like that. And I wouldn't do it if it was going to upset my family members as well. But I don't know, not the biggest of deals to me, but
yeah,
still just kind of.
And we noticed that some people had edited the video and posted it, and it.
He said somebody else edited it.
Disheartening and somewhat of a shock. And so we thought, well, why don't we do the right thing and post the real one so people can know.
Well, which one did we see? The editor?
I really
yeah. What did we see?
And that's how we're sitting here in the studio.
And Amanda, I'll ask you this question too. But what is your intent of wanting to tell your story, aside from, why you chose to resign from the pulpit that day? What is it you hope viewers and listeners to take away from today's episode?
People say that people can leave Mormonism, but they can't leave Mormonism alone. I don't agree with that. I can't leave it alone now because I recognize that it's doing harm to people.
There it is.
So I'm taking.
Yeah, so that sounds social justice-y, but then later he says it was mainly because of the visions or something, but not leaving it alone is because I guess you got to rescue people. And we talk about being heroes and all that sorts of stuff. I didn't even see Kevin. What's your name tonight? Wishing my bishop had empathy.
Kevin wins name night.
But that's one of the things, because if I go all the way through this whole thing, there was a lot of stuff where Delyn was pushing on him to say something, and he didn't necessarily throw the church under the bus where he could have. And part of it was, I think he wanted to make sure it looked like he was a good bishop all the way through and did everything that wouldn't upset anybody. Like he never acted patriarchy wise. He never, all that sort of stuff. And then, or if like he saw a sexual assaulter, he'd report a sexual assaulter or something like that. And Delyn would be like, but did the church try to tell you not to do that? All that sort of stuff. And like would repeat the question again and again and again.
Say the church is bad. Say it.
Yeah. I don't want to like play the clips of it too much or go too hard into it, but some stuff came up that like they talked about like childhood experiences with molestation themselves, both of him and his wife. And sure, we'll give benefit of the doubt and all that sorts of stuff, but both of them kind of mentioned it in the frame of resurfaced or recovered memories.
Yeah.
And that's always troublesome.
That's exactly as good as nothing.
Yeah. And they say more memories are resurfacing as they've been going along and stuff like that.
Yeah. I like, this is the thing where I want to know is like, is this happening in therapy? Who is your therapist? Because you need to leave them because your therapist is screwing you up. Recovered memories are basically a sham. It's not how that works.
Yeah, and maybe you just phrased it wrong or something like that. Like you knew it happened and all that stuff. You just didn't really frame it as bad, and now later you frame it as bad. I hear people say that, but you're like saying like you didn't have the memory, and now you have the memory, and I couldn't quite tell for sure. But
yeah, I don't know. That's always tough to adjudicate that thing.
So then they talk about this.
We did that thing. I kissed her. And I
On
liked
your
her.
mission as a missionary.
You better believe it. I laid it on her. And here's the other thing, John. I told her I was going to come back and marry her. And I did. You know? And I bet people are rolling their eyes right now in the church, guys.
He got home. When did you get home?
I still got called to be a bishop. I still helped a lot of
Did you
people.
guys used to
Didn't make me a
watch?
bad person.
Did you guys ever have to read the talk "Lock Your Heart" on your mission?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, in fact,
we had to read it like monthly.
We knew when something happened because there would be a call from the office that would say, everybody has to read Lock Your Heart for district meeting. And usually through the wheels, I don't know. In our mission, we call it the wheels, the gossip, the missionary gossip network. Our euphemism was called the wheels, but we would talk about, the wheels would tell us what was up, and they say, oh, an elder in such and such an area got involved with such and such a member, and now everybody has to read Lock Your Heart again.
Yeah. I don't know. Like on my mission, I don't know how much people got up to or not. I don't know how people ended up kissing people. Like, how did that happen? I mean, maybe it's something that happened stateside or something like that. But I was so locked at the elbow with my companion at all times. Like, how did it ever happen? You know?
Yeah, like when I was in, like I said, my mission felt like Sandy, but with fewer Mormons. You know.
But how does the mission go? Like, how do you ever even get alone to have something like that happen?
I mean, your companion
Yeah,
falls asleep
and goes in the other room.
They fell asleep like in the living room there or something, and you're chit chatting with them, or like I don't know how it couldn't have it. I don't know how it could have happened to me. I don't, unless like my companion was in on it with me
and go in the other room.
Yeah, we're gonna do like a threesome kissy something or something. No, I
Love
was always in the same
finds a
room with my
way.
companion. Risa says I should play ex-Bishop Nick in the movie version of his book. I have empathy for everybody's got a story. And I'm your bishop. Okay. Distractions, moments of freedom were taken. How though? Like I just wouldn't have, it couldn't happen on my mission unless, and there was people who did it, and it's usually because what we called them on my mission were fritos. Two fritos would get together and they'd go run off and they'd both end up kissing some girl or something like that.
So no, that's in my case. That's what.
He said he had a cool ass mission companion. I think I remembered him talking about that.
In my case,
companion running cover for him.
2 girls from the ward knocked on our apartment door at like 10:30 at night, and they came in, and my companion and I both ended up smooching each one of the other.
That's one thing I forget. I was in freaking Mexico City, man. We were in such small areas. We'd live like 8 missionaries to a place. So like there was like never any like just 2 of us alone, and one of them fell asleep, and then you're kind of like, ooh, I could sneak out of the house or something like that.
No, that was one of the things. In fact, like there's rumors that was part of why, because like my mission president got recalled early. He didn't complete his mission. He got in trouble for something, and we never really knew what it was. But one of the rumors was that it was basically financial mismanagement, which makes sense because like when I got to the mission, he had been the president just for like a few months. And within a couple of months, he made a policy decision which really angered the entire mission, which was that he was breaking up all of the multiple companionship apartments. He wanted each companion in their own apartment. And he did this in one of the places with the highest housing costs in America.
That's crazy.
And he more than
Multiple-
doubled the housing costs. Like in 2000, one of my units in the year 2000 was $1,200 a month that the church was paying rent on for just 2 missionaries, and it could have fit 4.
And in my mission, our apartments cost like $50 each. And
The building
stayed
costs
in them.
$2,000.
Yeah, but having 8 missionaries in a place saved the day for you, man. Like I can't.
Oh
describe,
yeah, no,
like,
that's
how
what
much-
that's part of why. Like that was just part of why it went down like a lead balloon. Everybody was so mad, which is that. Then the thing, and frankly, like I think it's conducive to missionary work. It's better for the missionaries and it's better for the work to have
Well,
the
there's
missionaries in
stuff
in
like we
multiple apartments.
Mexico City, crazy stuff would happen every day, but who would you tell it to? The companion who was there with you? Like,
Yeah.
it's like every night we get home and somebody would have a story and something
Yeah.
weird that happened or something like that. And then here and there, like some flooding things happened. We just sat in there and played like tic-tac-toe or something all day, and it was like crazy fun. And we had all sorts of like hazing and goofing around and fun stuff happening. And if you didn't like your companion, all you had to do was stick it out with him from 10 to 9, and then you got to be around other guys in the morning. And
Like there was a few things that my mission president did, and every single choice he made everything worse. He alienated all of the missionaries. Nobody trusted them. Like it was clear. My mission president made it very clear that he did not trust us, like at all. And
but wouldn't
you
more
know,
missionaries in the building be more trustable? Like that's why
no, exactly.
it was hard for me to ever think about like sneaking off, because like you could maybe sneak out on one companion, you can't sneak out on 8.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's like I said before. I loved my mission president as a person. He was a really nice guy, but he was a shit mission president. He was such a terrible manager of people. Like it was shocking. Like some of the things, like he told an elder that his parents didn't raise him right. He told one missionary, like, and this was a missionary that was doing stuff like, you know, waking up half an hour late, like, you know, breaking minor piddling mission rules. And he told this missionary, he's like, if you keep on this track, you're going to end up in a bar, sleeping with a whore, drinking alcohol. Like, and, you know, and of course, so like, this guy's like, okay, well, I'm never talking to you again about anything important, you know, and like, that's literally like, in fact, I always remember like 6 months into my mission.
And that's why you don't sleep in a half an hour.
Like 6 months into my mission, like I'd been struggling so much with so many things. And one of the things is like, because I was sleeping in a lot because I had debilitating insomnia, and it caused this whole big ruckus. And I got a new mission companion, and he'd been a former AP, and that was when I learned that the APs were the biggest rule breakers. But I was just venting with him, like, you know, the first day, you know, new companionship, and like just 2 hours of like going down everything. And I just remember he just went, Elder Johnson, just lie to President. And I'm like, what? He's like, just lie to him. He's like, I won't tell on you. Just lie. And I'm like, I can lie to the president. I'll just lie. And after that, my mission got so much better. I was a better missionary when I started lying to my mission president. That's part of what affected my faith. But
you on my mission, I can bring him on here. I had him on here before. It was my companion Wagley, and he said one of his biggest mission boons in his whole entire mission was he knew a guy like me who was kind of so cynical and hated it all so much, yet followed every single rule. And I was up every single morning. I was out on the street every day at 10. I didn't watch TV. I didn't play any games, all that sort of stuff. And I hated it. And I didn't judge other people who did do it. You know, and I just, it's just like how I do diet. Like I just do it and I hate it. That's all it is. You know what I mean? And that's how I did the mission. And I don't know, it kind of made time go faster, I think.
Didn't you think about that though, Flip, when Chris asked you, how you doing on the sugar, Flip? I can just lie to Chris.
Well, yeah, I'm wired for marriage. You just hate it and do it. So well, I haven't figured that one out. Maybe it's like once it came around women, I finally started saying, okay, no. You know, but that's Jonathan made this for me for my diet corner stuff. No sugar, no happy diet updates.
He tried to tell it to make a can of chicken. That's what that is. You're holding your can of chicken.
So he had some stuff. I mean, I don't want to pick on this guy too bad, but part of it is like because he's still in bishop mode and he's got suddenly so many eyes on him. I think that's part of why you act weird. You didn't know the whole world was going to be like looking at you all of a sudden.
Yeah,
and
that's totally fair.
Even if he was pushing for it to be something, he probably didn't know it would be this big of something. He probably thought it'd be, a couple hundred people or something.
I can see he wanted this message to go out to the people around him. He didn't expect it to explode. But then John Dehlin came along to blast it onto Mega Blast.
But anyway, like on to other stuff. He goes on here a bit about like him and his wife fooled around before marriage and they carried
because everyone
around
messed up, which is an embarrassment, right? And pride, fear, all of those emotions we were feeling. And we just
I don't know that we're listening to. He talks about that stuff. He says being a good Mormon makes you absent from home a whole lot, which is probably true. I mean, I remember when my dad was bishop, like I hardly saw him at all. They talked about being upset that they didn't get to have like a secular consumer wedding where everybody came and they overspent and had pictures and stuff like that. I guess that's something sad now. I like this part here where Dehlin asked him if he was a patriarchal patriarch. Somewhere around right here.
And the man rules, and this is in the Proclamation of the Family, that the husband presides and the mom nurtures the kids. Those are like the main, if I'm remembering right, those are the main responsibilities.
Can I say?
Satanic. I tell you, satanic.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Nick has never been like that. He's always wanted me to step up and voice my opinion and talk. And it's something that I've struggled with individually on my own, probably because of the idealistic things there. But he has never, ever once been like that. And one thing he keeps saying now is, I wish that you would have talked like this before now. I love hearing you talk. So that's been something that's actually strengthened our relationship, not just now, but probably over the past 7 or 8 years. Just me feeling like I can step up because I am worthy to. I have the strength to.
I'm going to tell on her for a minute. When we were first married, I asked her to order a pizza once. And we got into a little bit of a fight over it because she was so scared to pick up the phone and talk to a stranger.
Yes.
This is the person that I'm married. It's not the person that I know now. Not even close.
People grow.
He keeps kind of giving these things that are like counterfactual to what John Dehlin wants to hear. I mean, I bet like he wanted to hear that. He said, "Yeah, it was all patriarchy, and I just didn't even think of her once." And then, oh my gosh!
I believe if anything,
but this whole thing kind of like serves as a counterfactual that bishops are.
We've done the opposite of a patriarchal order in our home.
A Mormon bishop? But maybe that's what led him to apostasy. What's that?
Look at the comments.
Oh goodness gracious! Troy, I appreciate that because I actually kind of feel a little mean picking on this dude.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Now Troy can do it. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I won't use that.
I kind of feel like most of the ire that's landing on this guy right now really belongs on John Dehlin, but
yeah. Well, I mean, stuff comes later because like I started kind of like getting on this guy's side. Reese asked which way. Boo freaking who, man, should have had the wedding that you wanted. Yeah, I mean, my wedding was overly consumerist, and I wanted it to not be. Like, why did I have to take all those dumb pictures and stuff? Like people keep talking about like it's this great big dastardly thing that they just like wanted to sneak in a closet and get married. I'm like, well, that's what I wanted.
I'm confused though, Chris. Why didn't you just patriarchy? You could have just patriarchy and said, no, woman, no big wedding. I am patriarchy. I command it.
What the way this guy defers to his wife is part of his still bishopness. Like he constantly just gonna go, she's the better one, she's the good one, she's heck. My heckin' wife, and I'm the crappy one. That's straight Mormon bishop, and that's every Mormon bishop we've ever known. Even though we hear from John Dehlin in our world that they're just these, I guess, marching Stalinist or Hitler-esque figures. Everywhere.
Women are silenced.
So that's the patriarchy side. I guess he
and the way the story should have got is like my wife was. I commanded my wife to order a pizza, but she was afraid to speak, and I said, "That's right, woman. Be silent. Give me the phone."
Yeah. I don't know. It just kind of keeps being deflating counterfactuals. Like I think kind of halfway through it, Dylan's like, "Oh, I'm not getting anything where I can say the church is a horrible, dastardly, terrible thing out of the sky." Because some of the stuff he just kind of talks about is like here and there, some people got molested, and I wanted to do maybe a bit more about it, but I don't really know what the church did or didn't. And they're like, he doesn't want to throw the church all the way under the bus like they did it exactly wrong or something like that, you know. And he talks about masturbation, and he raises his hand, and I'm a bishop who did the masturbating.
Uh-oh. That's the real reason.
Reprograms them to pledge allegiance to the machine.
To the machine.
So your theory is, okay, first of all, I'm guessing that a decent percentage of Mormon bishops and stake presidents masturbate themselves. Is that...
Troy, does that one count? Because it's supposed to be, he's supposed to ask women, but does that one count? I think that one counts.
John,
Can you?
Yeah,
they're going to hate me for this, and that's fine. But I want to be real and raw. Absolutely. And I tell her, hey,
Flip missed it.
I did this thing today. Just so you know. Yeah. And there's some that don't. And then they're the ones that are like, oh, I would never. And they're, you know, that's fine. But
yeah, there's all that. I mean, there's got to be a masturbation question now every single time. Just
masturbation.
Yeah. What comes next? He says, being with the youth, Delin says, you were the only okay bishop. He did bishoping great. He says, pedo stuff, the bishop shouldn't even touch it, and he didn't even touch it. Like, he just sent it straight to the higher authorities, which is, again, kind of a counterfactual. But Delin kind of wants him to, well, did the church make you do that? Did the church make you do that? And he kind of just doesn't want to give the hot answer that Delin wants.
An example. There's a man in our stake who is a former stake presidency member. Any of that. We said, go. Live your life. You're good enough. You made a mistake. So have I. Let's move on.
Oh, that's what he was talking about. He would interview girls, and when he interviewed girls, the only thing he'd ask them is if they got raped. And he didn't want to know any other details. But I don't know why you would ask that every... Because, I mean, RFM himself even talked about, like, there could be, like, a higher proportion of accusations of that in that world for women who don't want to take accountability for certain things that they did choose to do. But I think of a man and I take away reason and accountability.
Where I draw the line is with pedophilia. 100%.
What a brave stance.
The church should not even be touching that.
That's phrasing.
What do you mean?
Okay, I'll give you an example. There's a man in our stake who is a former stake presidency member. For 8 years while he was in the stake presidency, he was molesting 2 of his daughters. One of his daughters for sure. The other started to happen, and the oldest daughter intervened. Somehow it was reported that this man was a lawyer. He was smart. Never served a day in prison.
These stories.
I have seen him in recent months at a stake youth dance on 2 different occasions. He's not supposed to be around kids. The church gave him an umbrella, a shelter, where someone who can rape his daughters can be forgiven, serve no prison time, and be let back into society. The church should not have a say in any of these matters, period. These men should be marked men. You should tattoo their foreheads. And I'll tell you, in Mississippi, the prison there, they mark them in prison. It's a known thing, so they know who they are. They put an X on their face. It's brutal. And I'm not saying we do that, but we should tattoo their foreheads.
That's the same thing. But
please refer to them as minor attracted stake presidents.
Who they are. And we should not ever let them back into the church, period. We say don't do the temple work for Adolf Hitler, right? Joseph Fielding Smith, Doctrines of Salvation, right? It's all in there. So we don't do temple work for him, but yet we allow pedophiles back in to perpetuate the harm that they've done, or to even just lay it out there, whether they do or don't. It's still a risk. It's still a fear. It's always on everyone's mind. Will they do it again? Are they doing it now? We don't know. We should not be participating in that.
We've covered this on the podcast, but can you explain historically a second counselor?
I don't disagree with that. What's a church supposed to do?
Yeah, because like this is a situation where it's like, are we talking about a conviction here? Like, you know, is there any standard? Like, is your accusation sufficient? Like, this guy says he knows for sure, but he also says like he was able to get out of it. Was it possible that he was able to get out of it because of evidence? Is that? I mean, I don't know.
There
Like,
was due process.
if this guy was,
you don't know the details and stuff like that.
yeah,
But
like
once again,
if there's
pretend you
conviction,
are the
sure,
church
like,
or a church. What are you supposed to do with them?
yeah, exactly. Like,
Force
are they,
is this
like,
an
is
issue
anybody
these people can
anybody
talk
with
about.
any cloud around them just to be just put out, and that's that? You know, is there any process? Like, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I
don't know the answer. I don't know what
Especially,
churches.
like, especially in this
Churches
case,
are
like,
ostensibly supposed to be about a world of forgiveness and getting better
Yeah.
and going in the future and stuff like that. What do you do about pedos?
Yeah.
Is that outer darkness? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Risa says, I think there needs to be a path to redemption for everyone, but it might take time and restrictions.
Yeah.
I think there should definitely be like restrictions about being around kids forever or somehow, but maybe that was already part of the thing, and then that's just kind of hard to control. If God inspires to bring a leader to bring them into the fold, then who cares about the conviction? But there wasn't a conviction in the case. But
that's things we don't know. Yeah, like by the sounds of it, like he says, yeah,
he
says the guy was able to get out of it.
If there was a conviction, that's pretty easy. The guy's in the prison. That's an easy.
Yeah,
that's an easy thing.
Right, like even if he doesn't go to prison, even if it's probation, but like if there was legal process, evidence, conclusions, you know, if it's a matter of fact, well, sure, that's easy. But this, like, well, it's an accusation, and he was able to skirt it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what they're supposed to do with them, or what is the best answer to do with them, or what to. Did you ever? There's this movie. It's got Hans Mikkelsen, and it's about child molestation, but it's like a he said she said situation with the child. It's an incredible movie. What's that? Not Hans Mikkelsen. What's that Mikkelsen actor's dude name? The dude who played Hannibal.
Anthony Hopkins.
No, the crappy TV version. Although he did fine.
Mads Mikkelsen. Isn't that
Mads Mikkelsen?
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen. Let me pull up this movie. Everybody should watch this movie because it'll leave you going like, what do you do?
You reminded me of something I was going to mention. This week, I finally watched Pink Flamingos, and now I know because now I know that, like, if it's true that there's a God and gay people go to hell, the movie Pink Flamingos is why. That's why gay people go to hell. Is that film? You know what I'm talking about? It's a John Waters movie.
Yeah, I know John Waters.
Yeah. Like I've been aware of that movie my whole life, but I finally watched it, and holy shit, I don't even know what to say about that. But good Lord,
everybody should watch this movie. It is in his home country, so I think it's in that language, if I remember right. Where's he from? Sweden or whatever. It's called The Hunt, and he is a preschool teacher. And I'm not giving anything away because it's just kind of in the beginning. One of his best friends, there's some like weird little thing where it comes out or seems like he may or may not have done something to one of his best friend's kids. And you don't know.
Yeah. It's just like Doubt.
You don't
Meryl
know.
Streep movie, Doubt. That's another, like, that's kind of the same thing. And like, I haven't seen this Hunt movie. I need to. Doubt was excellent. The way they portrayed that ambiguity was perfect.
Yeah, Doubt is insanely good with Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah,
this is the same thing. Like, watch this movie and try to act like, what do you do if like this guy's your best friend? Not just that, and he's been around a community. It's a small community. Plus, he's a teacher of kids. It's his livelihood. But maybe not. Maybe not. No, I would never know. You don't know. And it just like leaves you in like this place like, holy
John
crap,
DeLynn knows
what you do in this.
He has the power of empathy.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be because like you think about the situation, it'd be super easy if you just have all the evidence right in front of you and it's real. Like, boom, you're gone. I'm a brave person. I got rid of a pedo. You know,
Forrest, answer your question. What do you mean it's easy? So if it's a conviction, then the guy's convicted. We know he's guilty. Then he gets excommunicated for that. That's what you do with that. He's excommunicated. If he's also convicted of this, he's probably going to be on a sex offender registry. There will be whatever it is on the books restricting him from being around kids. You can enforce that with the police. That's what makes it easy. Now, if there's a guy that get out after 8 years, he served his time, he's probably still got restrictions, can't be around kids. You can enforce that with police. That's easy. If you want to give the guy a path to redemption, then that's what God and Jesus is all about, you know. But like, that's for
yeah,
the
I think they
Mormon
should
church
always
to figure
stay
out.
away from kids if they are convicted or something like
But yeah,
that.
like, you know, I mean, almost everybody ends up on the sex offender registry with some kind of restrictions about that, you know. And that's the thing is, like, so let's say, like, if you believe in repentance and somebody repents and says, I want to be back in communion with the church, but I can't go to church because of my sex offender status, the church can sort that out, surely, you know. Like, yeah, I don't, that's, you know, just the hard part there is, can anybody truly repent of that stuff? You know, I have questions about that. But again, I'm not Mormon. I don't believe in God. So, you know,
Everything is easy to
but when
deal
I'm the
with.
Mormon, I know that, like, the whole point is that Jesus died for everyone. If that's the point, then that's what that means. And the church should offer people a path to redemption. Why not?
Everything's easy to deal with if stuff's out on the table too. I mean, I know it from like years of being in HR, but even talking back about Trump's rape accusations and stuff, one of the things that feminists will point out is they'll say only like 5% of rapes ever get convicted or something like that. And then you go, but wait a minute, it's only 5% the other direction too. The other direction, there's only like 5% that ever get fully exonerated. There's only 5% that ever get fully convicted. Everything else is the hazy middle. Everything else, you just don't have all the details to know perfectly, and you have to make guesses and stuff like that, and it's difficult. And you know, we kind of go by the Blackstone formulation of, you know, it's better for however men to go free than one innocent guy go to prison or something like that. But I don't know, when it comes to pedos and stuff like that, kids, you can just imagine getting like a false accusation, and then your livelihood's working around kids, and now you can never work around them ever again. Actually, this actually happened to somebody in my ward. I can even like pull up his police report because this guy was fully exonerated, and you can still see his police report. He ran a kindergarten over in Murray, Utah, and I was in Vegas, and I saw his picture all over the news saying that he molested kids at the kindergarten. And this guy got fully exonerated because he had video cameras in the place at all times. And then even after that, they got the kid to confess that his parents put it up to him. But still, the only thing I ever saw in the news was his terrible police shot, you know, mug shot. And he's fully exonerated. So, and I saw this on the freaking news for like forever away. I can't find it. It was so long ago. It was like 15 years ago. And this guy, and he still ended up losing his business too. He lost his business entirely because of it. 100% exoneration too. My sister-in-law worked at his place with him.
Yeah, like, you had video evidence, right? Like
video evidence, and then the kid, they got it confessed in court that the kid was put up to it by the parents, like 100%, and he lost the place. He doesn't own it to this day. Anyway, that's tough. It's a tough thing. Did I lose a spot? I couldn't have. There we go. So where were we at with this? This guy, I don't know. I don't know what to do about the people. Anyway, he says report to the police. I do think that the church should report to the police. I just saw this thing on TikTok earlier. Check this out. Oh my goodness, I got way too many things open. Mads Mikkelsen, you gotta go watch that movie with Mads Mikkelsen. It's a good one.
I wonder if it's on any search visions.
So look at this TikTok.
Dennis, this man, Sean Gooden, remains at the center of all this. He pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting
You got to do the dumb.
decades ago in Virginia and Pennsylvania. He led the Lebanon ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Well, now police say a man who oversaw that ward and others in the mid-state and is also a prominent Harrisburg lobbyist knew about the allegations but didn't act on them.
Today, we're announcing charges against Rhett Hinsey. He is accused of failing to report as mandated as his position in the church.
State police say Hinsey is 50 years old, lives in New Cumberland, and is what's called Harrisburg's stake president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, overseeing church wards, including the one in Lebanon, where Sean Gooden was a leader until he was arrested in Virginia and then in Pennsylvania for allegedly sexually assaulting children between 1997 and 2000, who were between 8 and 12 years old when the alleged assaults happened.
But in the meantime, Mr. Hinsey became aware of what happened.
Became aware, police say, in October 2020, almost 2 years before Gooden was first arrested in Virginia, but didn't report the allegations. Hinsey is charged under this mandated reporter law for failing to report or refer what he knew. State police say Hinsey is a mandated reporter under the law.
The law was strengthened in 2014
after the Penn State Jerry Sandusky child sex assault scandal.
There's a whole host of positions responsible for the care of individuals, namely children, that are mandated by law.
So the guy molested in the 90s, this guy became aware of it. The stake president became aware of it in 2020. This law was passed in 2015. Now that stake president is facing 7 years in prison for not having reported it up.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, because the other thing is like, was it Bill Reel that put up that thing about why he changed his mind on mandatory reporting?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because that's things like I hadn't even considered most of that stuff he'd pointed out in that. Like I didn't have real strong opinions on it either way, you know. Like it seems to make sense, but like I hadn't thought about it too hard. But yeah, that was fascinating. But yeah, this seems like I don't know. I mean, I guess we'd have to find that. This is another thing. It's like, what are the details? What are the details? Like,
yeah,
was the guy contrite? Was he contrite? You know, like all this stuff. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
One of the things that they try to argue, like leftists try to argue about Roman Polanski, is that the underage girls that he got with were now 50-year-old adults who said they were cool with it. That's one of the reasons. Yeah. That's one of the ways all the Hollywood people try to say, "Well, that one's fine."
Yeah.
You know,
the victims came out and said they were all right with it.
Yeah, check this out. That thing that like tried to like stop me to see if I was a computer. Take a Chat GPT. You post one of those crypto things and say, "What does this say?" Chat GPT. The image shows text that appears to be a CAPTCHA designed to distinguish human users from bots. The text is distorted to make it challenging for automated systems to read. However, to a human, it should read E3TJ6JDP.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
That's our world right now, folks. We're
encrypted.
We're
Risto talking about?
What's that?
I'm not Risto in the comments talking about LDS abuse Twitter dude. I don't know. Was interviewed on CVS podcast. I'm not sure what that is. You see in the comments. I'm not sure what he's referring
LDS
to.
abuse Twitter dude was interviewed on CVS podcast this week. Oh, Bill Reel? Wait, who?
Is that the guy?
Who's that?
I don't know.
Fill us in what you're talking about. Anyway, back to this thing, man. Back to this guy. Yeah, but if somebody's a pedo, yeah, let's brand them and kill them. I always said we should put them in like gladiator rape challenges, and whichever one rapes the other one, we kill the other one, and the other one just raped. Anyway, but that's if we know for sure they done did it. If we don't know that they didn't done do it, just like with John DeLynn, just like with Tara Reid, just like with Joe Biden, just like with Donald Trump,
yeah,
just like with anybody, I land on the very liberal policy of due process.
Yeah.
No
I have the exact same opinion on that guy's guilt that the interviewee is talking about as I have about John Lynn's guilt. Not guilty. Not enough evidence.
And like I said some years ago, like there's all these Netflix shows that were kind of like trying to get on the believe all women thing, and I watched them and I was telling you guys about them, and each one of the show, it would like turn on the cop who didn't believe the person outright all the way right the first second something was reported. And I remember watching all the propaganda, that sort of stuff. No, the cop's supposed to be kind of generally trust but verify, skeptical type stuff, but you don't go like arrest a guy immediately because one thing was claimed somewhere, but anyway, with kids it's tough. And then kids get, you talked about Woody Allen last week. That seems like there's coaching involved in that situation.
Like the forensic psychologists, different teams of forensic psychologists hired by different people involved. Like, the prosecution hired psychologists, the defense hired psychologists, the judge hired psychologists, and I don't know, like multiple investigations. Different psychologists came to the conclusion that the little girl was coached by Mia Farrow.
Yeah. The kid who got accused, the guy in my ward, he was a coach, but
yeah, it was just for money, right? It wasn't even a revenge thing, right? It was just.
That's not the guy. There used to be a picture of his mugshot on here. It's still just on the news. This guy's fully exonerated. It's just right here. The news story of it.
But if you Google his name, this is what comes up.
Yeah, I just put Murray thing. So, and he lost that whole business. It wasn't like he was just a teacher there. It was his business. And my sister-in-law lost a job there because of it. Anywho, present share screen. How can you say mandatory port 200-year-old?
20-year-old, yeah, he fixed it.
20-year-old, yeah. That's like I don't know how. And then just think about like something you heard somewhere and you're some stake president and now you're going to be liable that you could get at least even just have to go defend yourself. Think of the lawfare that could be done with that. And just like we talked about with the Trump situation, they changed a law retroactively. People don't know that this is also the same thing that Puff Daddy and some other people got their things. There was this law that they changed that they said people can suddenly go back and accuse that 70s show dude and even Russell Brand. It's all kind of like falling under that thing. They're changing laws and saying you can go retroactively claim hearsay things from 20, 30 years ago. And even that kid from the 70s show, that dude, the Scientologist, that's all just hearsay. And he's in prison for 30 years for that.
Yeah. There's no physical evidence.
How soon after the Me Too movement was that stuff hitting?
Oh, pretty quick right after, but it took a while to change some of the laws. And so some of it's still just even coming out recently. Just in the last year, we thought Me Too was done and gone. But just think of the implications. Just think of it now. If you're famous at all in the world nowadays, and say you start moving into becoming a Trump or something like that, and just any general accusation can be thrown at you. Like, just think of it. I mean, it's turned upside down. And as soon as people just willingly and cynically weaponize it, like, oh, boy, we got problems. Oh, that's the wrong one. Anyway, what else are we going to talk about with this dude? The juiciest parts are coming up. Anyway, he says, so he starts talking about Solzhenitsyn, Jordan B. Peterson, Theo Von, and Nietzsche. And so like that just kind of like rings, it sets off bells. Probably even more so to leftists than it sets off to us, even more so. Kind of lets you go like, wait a minute, this guy's not exactly what is looking like there. And one of the things that I was telling you guys about is the Reddit people who are all giddy about him and the John DeLune people and all that sort of stuff. They're going to start trying to correct these opinions in him or these people he's listening to. They're going to start saying, well, why are you talking about those guys? And I think I'll make my judgment on this dude on how strong he holds to liking those guys as thought people or not because the crowd told him not to. Let's see here. So that remains to be seen, but here he is talking about it.
For love for them somewhere. I can't find it personally. But in time, maybe that's what heals them. I don't know the perfect order, but I know that we have to quit giving them a platform to repeat what they're doing and be called good men. Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, there's no such thing as good or bad men. There's only cowards and non-cowards, and cowards are capable of doing the vilest of things.
Nobody's talking Solzhenitsyn nowadays unless they got it through Jordan Peterson.
Who's Solzhenitsyn?
Real quick, this particular thing, because I might make people mad, but Theo Von and Jordan Peterson did this great interview on
He knows that might make people mad just bringing it up already.
Theo Von show where they talk about the children of Israel being captive slaves and then being freed. But the reason they wandered in a desert that only takes 3 days to cross for 40 years was because they were given every viable option rather than the slavery from whence they came. And some people say, well, it'd be better to be a slave than to have every option. And the reality is no, it's not. And you don't have to be lost and wander for 40 years. There's answers for these things, but you have to step away, step out of the painting to see it for what it is first.
Well, just a little bit after that, he mentions Nietzsche and all that sorts of stuff. So that'll be because that crowd will try to wash that out of him, and then they'll see if he's salvageable or not.
Said, hey, I'd love to visit with you. And I was in a really bad place. I couldn't even form a full sentence practically with him. And he said, you don't have to do anything. You don't owe me anything. You do what you feel.
This is him talking about John asking him to come on the podcast.
It's best for you. He had my best interest and my wife and my family's best interest at heart. He didn't try to put me on the show. No, this was me wanting to do it. And here's why we want to do it. Because of the thousands and thousands of messages I've gotten.
Yeah.
Who say, you're my hero. Me? I didn't do anything. I just did what I knew was right for me and the people that I loved. But it wasn't just you're my hero. It was my Sunday school teacher as a child would rape me after church. And then he would give me a priesthood blessing to tell me it would all go away. And then when I confronted the bishop with it, the bishop said, what did you do to cause that man to do that to you?
I don't believe this story. I don't believe that that's how it went down. I just do not believe that. I'm willing to believe that someone was victimized, but I don't believe that a bishop comes out of the gate and says, what did you do? I do not believe that.
Did you show me cute ass? Something like that.
It's like,
that's what Bishop
seriously, I just don't fucking buy that. Like it, I mean, how wicked would like that would to be that wicked? You'd think that why would they even care? They'd just be like, okay, now I'll rape you. Like, come on, what did you do to deserve that? This is such a stupid feminist trope.
But do you believe that somebody told that to him?
I believe that somebody told him to do that, sure.
Yeah.
And I believe that he'd swallow that uncritically. But like that, it just strains credulity that's all the bishop's response would be.
But you're not allowed to doubt.
Oh, that's right.
Or 2 or 3 of those stories, John. I'd have to guess it's probably 50 or 60 out of thousands, which isn't a lot in thousands, but every one of them need validation. They need to have a voice, and if I can be that for them, you better believe it.
As I was saying right there, that John DeLynne's envy eyes just like lit up, like, are you a competitor? You want to challenge me? And I tell the stories.
Absolutely. In fact, I thought about it on my TikTok. Can I talk about this for a second? I'd like for people who have stories like this, you can send them to me, and I'll be your voice.
This is him. He doesn't like. I don't think he realizes like how much like DeLynne's face might be. You know.
Oh man, here we are laughing about child abuse again.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like I imagined that this was DeLynne's face while he was saying that. He's just like, I tell the stories. No. I'm here for the stories. I get the stories and I tell the stories,
it's
man.
It's totally trauma porn.
And I'll start a nonprofit.
Like, so, because here's the thing, like, just going back to this issue
about,
like,
right I'd love to form a nonprofit organization. Like, like, there's a bit of naivety right there that he doesn't realize that he's sitting at the king of that, saying that he's going to do what the guy's doing and rob his business.
Just today, like, to kind of continue on this thing that's probably dangerous to keep going on about, this idea about, like, oh, what did you do to deserve this? Like, so just for example, today in the news in Utah in KSL, there's a story about like I can't remember, like volunteer basketball coach or something has been arrested for having sex with a 17-year-old boy. In the story, the boy, like it's in the story, it's in the police report. The boy went onto a website for gay hookups and said he was 18 and then voluntarily entered into a sexual relationship with this guy. Now, also according to the report, the relationship continued even though the older guy knew that he was underage. That's a crime. That guy should be punished. There's no excuse for that. You should fucking know better. You
Not
know,
if it's
you
an
should
Oscar-winning
be more
movie.
careful. But that 17-year-old kid, he is a victim, but he is also not blameless. He also fucked up. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say, don't fuck up, kids. Do not lie about your age and engage in sex with older men. It's not okay. Like, we don't put you in prison because you're a kid.
Don't you know
And
that
it
the
doesn't make it-
Oscar-winning movie "Call Me by Your Name" is about that exact story? Only it's played as an exact romance, and it's just a
Yeah.
romance, and they all won Oscars for it. There
Yeah,
it is right
exactly.
there.
But
But
that
then
thing's
Milo
that thing's
Yiannopoulos got kicked off of.
possible. It's not impossible for someone who was raped in church to have been a participant. Doesn't make it okay. Doesn't mean there's not a victim. But it does explain why somebody might ask, well, what was your role? Because that's not something you can just neglect. You can't just throw that out. That's part of the story.
Yeah, well, no, unfortunately, I know that the Milo Yiannopoulos famously got canceled off everything because he talked openly on Joe Rogan's podcast about how that's how many gay relationships start, and he was just saying it plainly. The problem is like it checked out in my life of people I knew for sure, and I know some
I have
situations
two
like
gay.
that where I kind of said later to some people I know, like, how come that just was allowed to go? Why wasn't anybody called on them? Well, they were happy that way. They were just happy that way. It's almost kind of just like you get those polygamous people who said, well, yeah, it's a 16-year-old, but we condoned it. You know,
Yeah, I know I personally have two gay friends who have told me at separate times that they willfully, knowingly engaged with sex with older men when they were teenagers, and that they are to this day totally fine with it.
The two people I'm talking about, I could direct message on Facebook right now and get an answer from both of them. So, anyway.
It does happen. It does exist.
Anyway, he talks a little bit about, he kind of thinks like some people, they've kind of turned their nose up at him, and they've all said, love you, just thinking of you and all that stuff, and it's just checking a box and it's not good enough and whatever. I mean, how do you want people to act in the situation? They'll come around, you know, if they're friends or friendly, and then at the same time too, like, I knew all sorts of people in my wards and stuff growing up, and anytime I see any one of them, they're still great and nice and incredible to me, but we aren't like family. Nobody's family, you know what I mean? But everybody who is a friend stayed a friend. They're still going to be a friend if they're actually friends, you know. Just give it a minute, especially if you're coming out going all over John DeLynn stuff and all that sort of deal. Like, Mormons aren't going to oust you as bad as you think it is. It's not Scientology, or maybe it was worse in the 70s or 80s or something like that, but it's just not that way anymore. Just give them a minute, especially if you're going on John DeLynn and Reddit and TikTok and stuff. Anyway, past all that, this is the juicy part. This is your favorite part. You're going to like this part.
Yay!
I talked to him and give him a real narrative.
What did he accuse you
I
of?
couldn't only listen to 20 minutes of it.
Oh, God damn it. I swear on my life.
Completely misread me. I don't appreciate
seriously
radio. What the Mormon what's the guys that made fun of me for an hour and a half?
Is it Radio Free?
Oh, Ward Radio.
Ward Radio.
That's Kwaku and Cardin
Yeah,
Ellis.
who's the guy
and-
behind the soundboard?
That's Cardin Ellis.
Cardin Ellis?
Yeah.
I'd like to sit down with him and talk to him. I think
Good
he's
luck.
completely misread me. I don't appreciate what
I
he's
think
done.
Cardinal have him on.
I'm coming for you,
But I'm not a
Clark.
coward.
No, I mean, no, I'm not saying that Cardin wouldn't have it on, but like having a conversation with Cardin, like an actual conversation, that's what I'm saying. Good luck to.
And I'd stare him in the eyes and I'd talk to him and give
What
him
did
a
he accuse
real
you of?
narrative.
What did he accuse you
I
of?
couldn't only listen to 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, it
They
was
just
like
mocked
so
my
fresh. I
videos.
told him
Not
turn
my
it off.
videos, but the resignation. They spent an hour and 40 minutes making fun of me, basically. And that's fine. I would never do that to him. I don't know him. And even if I did, I
Well,
wouldn't do it to him.
I'll do it
So
for
it's
you.
sad that these people feel the need to do that. Sometimes I wonder if they're employed by the church to just make noise.
Yeah.
But as much as I'd love to put him in a
No,
heel hook or
Cardin
a
does it
chokehold,
for his own self-aggrandizement. He doesn't do it for the church.
Yeah, they're
That's
not
just for
employed by the
Cardin.
church.
Yeah, Cardin
teach
doesn't
him how to
need any
be-
more motivation than the gratification he gets from being a jackass.
decent person. I don't think you can. Some people just want to talk mess on people, so that's fine. But so the ward members know, and the stake members know, we had fully intended on being there until this had just completely fizzled out. But when all of a sudden I was in the public eye and a new bishop was being called that next Sunday,
Yeah.
I felt like I'm going to just take away from all of that.
Anyway, I think you talked over, but he said that he felt he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and he felt like beating Cardin up, but he wouldn't beat him up.
No, that's a pretty
That's
hard
the
thing to
juicy
say.
part. So the only last little bit that I'll cover on this one is, tell me this is not a bishop getting up and capping off a meeting right here.
In the name of love and empathy.
And his wife Amanda, tell them that you love them and how much you appreciate them.
So he's
also,
rapping.
please again hit the like button, subscribe.
This
so
is
that
like
we can blast this everywhere.
The last talker in sacrament meetings wrapping up, and you're like, oh boy, it's 3:00. Yeah, we're getting out of church here pretty quick. Yeah, the last talker's wrapping up. It's gonna be in and out.
Is
In and
John
out.
dyeing his hair but not his beard?
I don't know.
Just kind of, yeah.
Maybe to close, you wrote a lot of stuff. I want to give either of you any chance to make sure and say any other things, and we can go for another hour. Like, I'm sure you won't, but Bishop Nick,
I'm telling you, this is every single time a bishop got up right when I was out the door on church every Sunday.
Amanda, any final words either of you want to share?
Yeah, I'd like to share a few things. Christ means the anointed.
I just imagine like that talk just got done. We were leaving, and the bishop just like walked back up to the podium, like, and I'm just
Let
like,
me reset the
"No!"
conversation.
The surname of Jesus. In Sanskrit, the meaning of Christ is the man who woke up, who discovered who he really was.
What?
I feel like the world is waking up in its own little way. John, you and Mark, you've done an incredible thing. So
sometimes in
I commend you.
ex-Mormonism, I feel so much like I'm in Mormonism. Just
Yeah, this is church. This is preaching.
For being pioneers in this thing to help people out of the pain and manipulation that is just perpetuated upon them. I thank you for that. And all of those who stand with you, I admire you, but I don't push you on a pedestal. I refuse to do that. In fact, that's my trigger. If anybody is elevated over another, I'm out. 100%. I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say step into the unknown. It's a place without walls.
This
And it's
is so
terrifying.
bishop talk.
But it's painfully beautiful.
That's the testimony.
That's all I
Okay.
really have to
Then watch, just like a bishop will, he'll throw to his wife.
say. Thank you so much for offering us to come.
Mm.
We just simply want to help people in our own little small way. And I'll let Amanda say whatever she has to say. She's more important.
He's more important. It's so bishop. It's just so.
Oh,
bishop,
it's
man.
still so
bishop.
church.
Bishop. I call myself obese, but I don't hold a candle to it. It's just so bishop. And
Church isn't
John
this
DeLynn is
cringe.
still like a church stake president too. Like it's all just continuance of this thing.
Church isn't this sappy. Not even church is this sappy.
I don't know. It felt pretty sappy to me sometimes. Well, there's certain
Yeah.
bishops. All you had to get is
Yeah,
like
that's
a
right, yeah.
bishop like that.
Tearful bishops. Yeah, everybody had a tearful bishop.
Anyway, I actually think we still got to see how it plays out with him. Steve
Yeah.
says he's having him on next week and he's going to talk more about not being woke. I don't know if actually Steve will pull that out from him or not, because everything seems like still just talking about the, I don't know, Kazi Harmony and stuff and all that. But
Yeah, no, that's things like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll see. I hope the guy doesn't get sucked into ex-Mormon Blue Church. Like, it's okay to just leave the church, buddy. You know, like you don't believe in it, you disagree with it, just get out. That's fine. But don't get sucked into this DeLynn Blue Church bullshit, because you're just going to end up right where you started.
yeah. Okay, let's take a one little I guess digression, and we'll go back into Jacob Hansen and the fallout of his video this week. But first, let's go with the autist of the week. This one's a skit, but still.
It's now been 7 days since a group of hikers went missing in Maine's Acadia National Park. but rescue crews there are still holding out hope of finding them alive.
I don't think the Onion will ding me.
Autistic reporter Michael
I will-
Falk seen there. Michael.
It's like 11 years old. Autistic reporter Michael.
Oh, I love him. He's the best.
My socks got wet. That cameraman gave me new socks. I am fine.
All right, that's good, Michael. But what's the situation?
The names of the hikers are Casey Allman, Brian Emery, Ashley Thorson. The hikers were last seen 174 hours ago. Since then, 3 very big storms have hit here. There's a 1.24% chance that all of the hikers are alive. There's a 3.87% chance that one or more of the hikers are alive. I talked to a man. Watch that video now. Why are you looking
It cracks me up so much.
He's so good.
hiker?
Why are you still looking for the hikers?
Well, we're still hopeful that we might be able to find them. There's been a break in the weather, so we're hoping that.
Over the past 7 days, the average high temperature has been 21 degrees Fahrenheit. Over the past 7 days, the average low temperature has been 6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. So we did another sweep of the park from the air, but we didn't see anything.
Without shelter, the human body can withstand temperatures this cold for a maximum of 3 hours. Is there shelter in the forest for the hikers?
Not that we know of.
They're frozen.
They are frozen. This is like people like dunk on like what like the atheist types are like. This is really like what is like, you just like we're not gonna play the games of the thing. You know, this is like they're frozen. I think just even a little bit of flip last week, just saying to Jacob, just like saying, "Hey, this is all easily explainable if there's no God." They're frozen.
They're frozen. Many people are looking for the hikers and saying that they are alive, but that isn't possible. It is confusing. That is a helicopter. A CH-146 Griffin helicopter. Helicopter. I talked to another man who was looking for the hikers. It is unlikely that the hikers' bodies have left Acadia National Park.
That's right.
I have found the hikers. The hikers are dead here in Acadia National Park. I am not part of the news story because I am the one who found the hikers. I am Michael Falk reporting on Michael Falk. Goodbye. Even though I found them, the rescuers say they will keep looking for the hikers because some people think that knowing where dead bodies are is better than not knowing where they are, even though we know where they are. They're over there. I am Michael Falk.
Oh, that's perfect. I've never seen that one. I thought I'd seen all of those before. Like I've seen the first. The first one he did was.
I pulled it up.
Well, because the one I know, that the Michael Falk one I know is when he interviews
crash?
the guy in prison. No, the prison.
Oh, the
He
prison.
interviews the
one.
guy in prison, and he's like, he's like, we have to get up the same time. We have to line up in order
He
every
loves
day.
the-
He's like, and he goes,
He loves the
so
order
into
of the
it.
prison.
How can I go to
Like
jail?
to-
Yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
whole idea of having his entire life structured around him just is his fantasy.
The other one is when he talks about like a train wreck, and there's a bunch of people who died on the train wreck, and he's just completely sidetracked about being interested in the trains. Oh goodness gracious!
Hooray for
All
us.
right, the Jacob Hansen video. How much of the stuff from the Lynn and those guys did you guys watch after Jacob Hansen's video?
I barely kept up.
Barely kept up with it at all.
I mean,
So,
like I've been watching you
Bill-
guys comment.
Bill Real gave like a long Duncan video on it. Do you want to? This cuts out this. He did this one at the beginning of the thing, and I wish I had it on the other one. I could pull it up, but after he says it, DeLynn goes mic drop at the end of it, and he cut that off of this because he's tasteful. But oh god, I don't know. It was kind of long. Autistic reporter. There it is.
Years ago at the BYU Women's Conference, Jessica Levere Mendoza Haynes was introduced by First Counselor Sharon Eubank, and she shared her unique perspective on embracing diversity and her personal identity within the context of the LDS Church. Haynes openly identifies as queer and views this aspect of herself as an eternal part of her identity. She emphasizes the importance of self-acceptance and asserting that she is perfect just the way that she is. As the church youth leader, Haynes takes on the role of teaching inclusivity and love to the young women under her guidance, encouraging them to use preferred pronouns. In her social media post, she has expressed that her personal revelation about her queer identity takes precedence over certain aspects of the family proclamation. which she views as a document crafted by men, and she publicly promotes her views. In recent weeks, we've seen the LDS Church call Patrick Kieran as an apostle, a man who has the reputation of being more liberal and inclusive than how the top 15 are seen collectively. Also, the church hired as its top PR spokesman Aaron Sherinian, whose public allyship with those of the LGBT community is well known at this point. In addition, we are seeing instances where the top church leadership seems to be ignoring their own policies and doctrines in favor of acceptance and inclusivity. One such example is recently where the first president...
Like, strangely enough, like so much of this might as well be Jacob's video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gave approval for a transgender woman to join the church.
Because he says it's their top policies. All those guys say something different, but then the stuff that's going on is something else.
Admitting her to baptism and onto the records of the church as a female, ignoring the very thing that has gotten members who transitioned excommunicated only a few short...
This is why they went and stalked that sacrament, is because they wanted to see if those gay guys are taking sacrament and if they have callings. And they say that they do have callings and they are taking sacrament.
Years ago.
You know, and I noticed some of the questions were, what does your
investigate podcast thoughtful faith?
Oh, that guy also. Did you see that thing where he said he took a bunch of queer people to the temple? It was Papa Osler. It was that same guy who did it.
Yeah, that's a crazy that when I saw that, where they did a special viewing. It's like, it's one thing. It's like, hey, a bunch of queer people showed up for the tour, and because we're tolerant, we said, here's our temple, enjoy. But like, the weird part is like, we are here with queers and we are touring. It's like, what the hell is going on there? It's so weird.
Yeah, I've got.
That's confusing.
Here it is, right here.
Yeah, like lift plus love. Jesus Christ, these people are just.
One of them actually think this is Bill Real. Bill Real's kind of using it to dunk on Jacob again. Jacob, the shift continues. The church is doing what it always has done, and that is make the changes necessary to be relevant and to perpetuate.
Addresses what he perceives as significant disconnect between the teachings of the church's top leaders.
But you already
on gender
said, he
and
perceives. You're saying it, like you're saying it.
He doesn't perceive it. You're confirming it. Like, he perceives it because you're saying it. Yeah.
In the faith community, Hansen sheds light on his motivation and mindset, emphasizing that his concerns stem from a genuine desire to reconcile apparent contradictions rather than engaging in activism against church leaders or experiencing a faith crisis as he struggles to catch up with what some, including me, see as real change happening in the church. In this video, Hansen grapples with the challenge of reconciling the doctrinal positions of the LDS Church as taught by top leaders with the seeming tacit approval of top leadership that leads to the lived experience running contradictory to those doctrinal teachings, specifically in regards to homosexuality and support for transgender individuals. He articulates that his motivation is the need for open dialogue and consistency, seeking understanding and coherence within the teachings and actions of the church. And he addresses those accusations of activism or wavering faith. Hansen assures us that such assumptions are premature, that he is neither.
So then he goes over the video more, if you guys saw the video, and then he concludes it this way.
Less core. But examples include free agency being redefined
Oh, this
and
is the
labeled moral
changes in the
agency.
church he wants to label out that have happened before.
Plural marriage as celestial marriage, shifting to monogamous temple marriages as celestial marriage. The end of polygamy after ensuring the saints that it could never end. That you can no longer get a planet when you were once assured that that was the very purpose of exaltation.
Is that a change? They never said that.
The restoration.
It's like, is the planet doctrine
about that? Or...
Is the planet doctrine officially been denounced? Like,
Say worlds without. I mean, Jared. I know Jacob still stands by it, but he says it's not a planet; it's worlds without end or something like that.
Restoration was near complete.
Planets, universe,
and that now we are only in the beginning of an ongoing restoration.
Oral sex was bad, and then
birth control was contrary to the teachings of the church, and today couples are free to decide for themselves without the negative stigma. That masturbation causes a person to be gay, and that today the teaching has disappeared. That interracial marriage was sin, and now such has been disavowed. That people of color were less valiant and cursed, but such has been disavowed as well. That Jesus and God were polygamist, but such teaching is no longer taught. That Adam was God, and now he isn't. That Joseph Smith's Bible translation was a restoring of the Bible to its original form, but today is simply a flawed Bible commentary. That temple ordinances couldn't be altered until they were. That garments had supernatural protective powers until they didn't. That Joseph Smith understood the Adamic language. And Jacob Hansen himself admits that Joseph Smith actually couldn't read Adamic language. He didn't know it. That Cumorah was in New York is another example. And now we don't know. That God gave the November 2015 policy.
It's in Myanmar or something like that. What was it? The Cardin said it's in.
Oh.
No, the Cardin had that whole thing of it being in like Eastern whatever countries.
And then 3.5 years later took it back. In concluding, it's important to note that the LDS Church has navigated a complex history of reversals and abandonment of lots of past doctrines, many of them core, challenging believers to adapt to changing perspectives all the time. The key takeaway is that every teaching, policy, and doctrine has evolved in one way or another, challenging the notion that changing doctrines, even core ones, is inherently problematic. Perhaps, in grappling with these particular changes, conservative believers might consider that maybe for you, it has never been about whether leaders were wrong over and over in the past, or whether doctrine changes as it does all the time, but rather maybe a reluctance to acknowledge that it's the doctrines that are important to you that are changing, that to change with the church would require you to acknowledge that a part of you was wrong about how it defined another human being in ways that made them less than or not acceptable.
Mic drop.
Every night, the devil looks under his bed.
So I don't know about y'all, but none of those changes seem as big to me as this one would be if they did.
Yeah, no.
And
No,
I think that's just the core part. And
more than 10 years ago, John Larson did a Mormon Expression episode called "Why I Think That the Mormon Church Can't Change on the Gay Issue." I think Larson was right there. Like, it completely undermines the most fundamental doctrines of the church. You know, like there's just no way around
the
that.
main ones. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know
absolutely.
how on earth, like, from what I knew the Mormon Church to be, I mean, I thought the whole point of this whole thing was a celestial marriage and making families, and that's the way to proceed forward, right? I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Or wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that can't be changed. I mean, I know of. Dan Ellsworth shared this. He's got this Nauvoo neighbor resource page on gender, and just like this long list of stuff talking about how, I mean, they say that they reversed the stuff on like the race ban and all that, but I don't know that there was this much on the race ban stuff in that time frame. There's like one or two guys who said that wouldn't ever change. Bruce R. McConkie said it or something.
Yeah.
Maybe Brigham Young said some stuff, but this one is like everything's about it. Like everything's about it. I just don't know. Like, if it were to change, I don't know how you could say that it's at all the same church in any way, shape, or form. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know how they could thread that needle at all.
No, like, I really wonder, like, are we going to have two Mormonisms? Like, a lot of people have been talking about this, like, and we seem to be careening toward a schism of there's going to be the conservative, traditional Mormon Salt Lake Church, and then there's going to be a blue Mormon church. And I'm guessing that if that does happen, the conservative Mormon church will continue to exist and grow, and the blue Mormon church will dissolve in a few years into a bunch of just interfighting. I mean, it's just, well, because it's neo-Marxist. Because the things like, let's remember, we're talking about neo-Marxist infiltration that exists to dismantle systems of oppression. So, like, that's the other thing is, like, once the church accepts the queer agenda, then there's no point to have the church. Like, literally. At that point, the church becomes utterly meaningless.
What people don't ever like to admit, but accepting the queer agenda is accepting something in that definitely wants to destroy you and queer you and
like, you might as well
all
just
the boundaries and infiltrate a thing and break it. I mean, that's part of the idea of the whole thing.
That's like, yeah, like, it's really like you might as well just close down the church and say, all right, we're done. We had a good run, but we're not a church anymore. We don't We don't have anything. We have no principles.
I think
We don't-
people
we have no
never really
doctrine.
understand what queer is. It's almost like you still have like a 90s version of what you think queer was when
Oh,
you
man,
played like
I was-
Smear the Queer on the football field or something like that. But the word queer it's never categorized. And as soon as you categorize it and you're okay with it, like gay marriage, you need to immediately queer it. Like as soon as it's accepted and annexed into a mainstream belief, it must then be queered again.
Yeah,
It's
there's no
forever
end to it.
revolution, and that's in
Yeah.
the writings of those ideologies.
No, I was so alone for so long, but there's a guy that works with me now part time who has a master's degree in poetry from BYU and is a teacher and is aware of all this stuff and is not beholden to it. And it was just so nice because like I've been the crazy guy forever when I'm like, no, okay, capital Q, capital T, queer theory is real. They make statements and all that stuff, and like everybody just brushes me off like, it's craziness. But it's just so nice to have him like, oh yeah, no, queer theory is real. Like, just like, thank you. Like just to have another voice, like especially somebody in college, because that's what I'm keep talking about. Like this stuff comes up in college, like, oh yeah, no, like no, that's absolute, that stuff's real. Like they exist, they really do say that stuff. Yeah.
Judith Butler says you can't ever really fully be queer. You can only ever be becoming queering.
Yeah,
As soon
you
as
can't be
something,
perfect like Jesus. That's
as
what
soon
you're
as
saying. You
something
can't be
is
perfect like
already
Jesus.
there, it must be queered again. Like
Yeah.
it is destructive, just like deconstruction is, and there's no end to it. There's no, I mean, it is just like deconstruction, just kind of from a different angle, and that's actually was borrowed from the concepts of deconstruction of Derrida, which is all in language, and it was just moved over into actually putting into the physical realm what was done with language, and it's like shiftily, queerly, because they won't ever say this for sure. Language is for sure the real world we're talking about here, because in her very book, Genderqueer, no, that's the one that they try to show the kids. Her book is Gender Trouble. That book, she says that it is just talking about gender. We're just talking about queering the ideas of gender, the things that are all along the spectrum of gender. The very next chapter, she says, but we're also talking about the biology too. It's biological. It's just very like it was already from the very first book. It went all the way.
It's also just like just tangentially, but related to what we've been talking about today. The same friend that I'm talking about, he's an ex-Mormon, and when he's the oldest of his siblings, and when he was like young, like I think 5, 6, or 7, his mom left his dad, told them that his dad was a child abuser, alienated them, and this guy was in his 20s, in college, married and having his own kids when he found out that his mom lied about all of it. And that it all just came out. And now he does not speak to his mom. He has reconnected with his dad. This all happened within Mormonism. And he's got stories about how the bishops upheld the mom's lie and destroyed his father's life.
Wow.
So there's the other side of that,
See, one of the things about all of these, when these infiltrating, because they are Marxists, they do infiltrate, they do entryism, they have two ways of winning. One is they just completely take over it. The other is they destroy it. Both of them like, yeah, good, oh, good. And that's part of like what I see, the kind of like this disingenuous thing of RFM and Bill Rill and John DeLynn being like, oh, it's so great, they're accepting this, it's going to be so great. And they're all giddy. They're almost kind of joyful that they think, Jim Bennett too, that they think Jacob's shaking in his boots about it. And they're not giddy because it's like, let's say they just do go ahead and accept the gays and the trans or whatever. Well, okay, well, what about all those Mormon discussions episodes you guys did about truth claims and about manipulation and about money and all that sorts of stuff?
About
now it's all
biological
okay.
reality.
Queers and gays are there. Pink wash, that's called pink washing.
About science.
We've been talking about forever, like especially Democrats like to do. You can pink wash a war. We're doing this to save the feminists.
Pink washing is another. So this guy, that same guy I'm talking about, that I've been talking about, I showed him. We're developing our 99 theses, our Martin Luther nail to the wall of Mormon Stories thing. Like we were talking about a CES letter for Blue Church ex-Mormons. I showed him our list, and he read it all. And his contribution was, deconstruction is ideological gentrification. And this is what we're talking about. This pink washing, it's ideological gentrification. That's what's going on.
100%. And if it destroys the thing, and Delin and RFM and Bill Real, got to be honest about that, they don't just think it's getting nice and kinder and better for the people. They are giddy, and they know they're a bit giddy that it's going to destroy it. That's what they're giddy about. If it gets in all the way. Jonathan Streeter's been poking fun. He's made some more funny memes with the faces and stuff. And he says, Jonathan Streeter says, some of my family have never taken any of my criticism of the church seriously or had any effect on them. Jacob Hansen's video has them shook in ways I never achieved. Ex-Mormon, I can't seem to get my family to question the honesty or integrity of the brethren. I've tried everything. The one giga mighty and strong. No worries, I got this. Jacob Hansen. But these bits have been poking fun at him. Where are you at the Hansen stages of faith in the church? It's a trick question because Hansen's faith isn't in the church. It's because it's in Christ, as he said. Mm-hmm. Knows the church is true, fighting for the truth, confused by the brethren, witnessing the church change. But are they going to make this change? I know a lot of people think they're for sure going to go all the way. A lot of people think for sure they won't. And predictions and stuff. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Queer theory is very effective. They are very effective at infiltrating and destroying organizations. We've watched it happen over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
The church, the church's structure is very much evolved, I would say, to protect change. You know, that's something like, again, John Larson talked about a long time ago about like the way the whole quorum, seniority, and voting thing works, like creates a system that is very, very strongly tilted toward not changing. But like, I mean, have we ever seen this level of confusion in the church? Like where we've got members making these public internet declarations that run completely against church
I haven't
doctrine?
in my life. And I was telling you guys myself that, like, you know, I haven't been in the church a long time. And this thing has me feeling schizo. You know, like I kind of go, like, what is going on? Is it going to be this or the other? But I do tend to agree with Jacob that if you look at the top speakers, they still hold strong all the way across the board.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere in the institution down on another level. And as we talked about before, there's a managerial class and the Leviathan, obviously left in a bureaucracy.
I think it's the mid-level bureaucracy that are driving the church, and they are all 30 to 40-something-year-old college graduates, and that's what the danger is.
And if you're to believe James Burnham says the system is what it does. That's been a thing that's been going around right now. The system is what it does. The system is what it does. And he's talking about a bureaucratic managerial class. And here it is right here with Rufo's picture around it. By their fruits ye shall know them. Recently, discourse on a corner of the internet has been consumed with POSIWID. This is an acronym which stands for the purpose of a system is what it does. And that's just a thing that they've come up with. They're talking about that the managerial bureaucratic class wins. It just wins. The Leviathan you can't fight it.
The purpose of a system is what it does. So Mormon Stories creates emotional and psychological chaos. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, what's going to happen? Are they going to do anything? Here's some other memes on the stuff. The dark side of the groom, normal children, woke teachers, trans kids. There's the McClellan shirt again. Let me see. Oh, that's a Barbie meme.
Oh yeah, that's some Barbie meme. Yeah.
White feminist, 2 black women, a Native American, and an international actress get Oscar noms over a white woman for advertising Mattel. You can't do this to me.
Oh, it's so perfect. These people are their own parody.
Hey man, Jesus just gave us like one commandment, bro, which is to be scribbled out something nice to each other, man. As long as you're being nice by the cultural standards of the current time, period, we live in, and completely ignoring the Bible, we're doing a heckin' wholesome Christianity. Flip, what was this one? You got into it with somebody.
Yeah, I caused another thing.
I
think it's one of those things like, you guys don't believe in the church. So like, this is one of those things where it's like, you know, if you don't believe in Star Trek, then don't point out the contradictions.
So it's a
within
sacrament.
the church. Within the church, like everybody understands, who was ever Mormon understands the Mormon idea of repentance, how that works. And so within the Mormon framework, there is no contradiction here. And it's only if you're trying to apply your non-Mormon standards to the church that you get to play this game. Knock it off. Stop playing stupid.
He's got a meme that says, "For the forgiveness of sins," and it's somebody about to take sacrament. It says, "But you can't partake if you sin." And Flip pops in, "Yeah, it's fine if you don't believe in the church. I don't, but don't pretend like you don't understand how it works. This is just stupid."
Yeah.
If King of the
Yeah,
Hill
no, these,
didn't
like-
end where it did, it probably would have spiraled into this. That's probably true. I mean, I think it was kind of
Yeah.
that anyway. But what do you think about this? Actually, just right before I got on here, did you know Alex Jones came out with like a red alert announcement that like white supremacists were entering Eagle Gate and there was supposed to be an FBI standoff there? Conceptual James says, and it sounded like 4 alarm alerts, like what happened around Charlottesville. And James Lindsay's been barking all week, like, don't drive your dumb trucks down there. It's going to be a big old psyop, and it's going to be another January 6th. And then right before I was coming on, I heard this 5 alarm thing coming up saying, white supremacists are showing up to Eagle Gate. But anyway, conceptual James Lindsay says, your churches have been infiltrated by communists. There's a simple way to test. Is the one in your community is compromised? As your pastor or priest, is it moral to defend private property and a nation's border? So this is another one that is coming up. They pointed out that the BYU Honor Codes admin is advertising around Facebook that he's out gay dating. That's kind of a
what?
Yeah.
So is he fired?
And I don't think they go around firing. Like if people are high profile at all, they can't do anything about it. We saw that Hulu's announced that they're going to do a polyamory Mormon show. Do you think they dare? I mean, they would have been X so fast 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they will or not now. I don't know if they're going to.
No, yeah, like, that's the other thing. Like the church is in a trap in that, because if they protect their boundaries, it just backfires on them.
Would you say, Kevin, it was real light? What'd you say?
Is it polyamory? Is it swinging, or is there?
Oh, swinging. It's swinging. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the swinging. Well, what's the difference?
I mean, they're trying to avoid Xing anybody who's high profile, but people get high profile easy nowadays too.
Yeah.
But
no, that's the
I
other
don't
thing.
know how do you not?
You can, like we just learned with the
X-swingers.
bishop guy. Like you can make yourself high profile, or you can become high profile. You can be nobody and become high profile instantly in a way that was never possible before the internet. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the church is really in a bind because like this is one thing. Like for the Jacob Hansons of the world, is like, what does the church do? Because like the church should fire this guy, the BYU should fire this guy, or okay, let's say they don't want to fire, move him to a different position because the honor code is what it is. The standards are the standards, and this person is publicly flaunting those standards. Okay, so move him to another job. Put somebody in that's going to do the job.
So this is how fast. I mean, I guess they claim that the church is always 10 years behind this, but like, look at this. It's kind of amazing how quickly attitudes shifted on the issues of same-sex relations. Same-sex relations from 2000 to 2020. You can just see that just changed just across the board. Those are different generational things. Like they just, boom. That's just how fast the society flips on a thing.
Wow.
You know, you can just see like the knee jerk we've been through. Jordan Peterson shared this week. In this study, transgender patients' frequency of personality disorder was 81.4%.
What?
Personality disorder was narcissistic personality disorder, 57.1%.
Yeah, like this is like studies we didn't need a study for. Like things you can learn just walking around on planet Earth.
You know, it's a personality disorder or a mental illness. And then I saw Seth Garrett saying, no, it's not all mental illness. But well, true. Some of them are, I don't know if it's mental illness or not, but some of them are autogynephiliacs and that sort of thing. But there's a whole other thing that came up. Let me pull this up.
Oh, Seth. Seth is an interesting cat to say the least.
Yeah, he's interesting.
What's this whole case is that, like, I mean, I think it's like, basically, as far as I can tell, he seems to be basically a Gnostic, which is like, if
I
you
think he's an atheist.
psychologically experiencing, well, I just mean like, not an agnostic, a Gnostic, like, because when I got into it was about this stuff, and he's basically making the case that psychological perception and reality are effectively the same thing, which is like, no, they are not. You know, like, I don't know how to get over that boundary with him, but yeah.
So you see this? Here's a rugby trans.
Oh my gosh.
Pile driving a gal. Richard Dawkins has been going bananas this week, but let me share this.
It is so funny how, like,
family proclamation.
I'm just saying, like, the men and women's sports is a misogynist dream. Like, oh God, I can't wait to beat up women. It's gonna be so wonderful.
What did you say, Kevin?
I said, didn't Dawkins endorse the family proclamation this week?
I guess so. What are some people saying? I haven't seen the CES letter. Yeah, we've got a CES letter for ex-Mormon influencers. We've got it.
It's like a CS letter. It's like a 99 Theses. We're kind of doing a similar
We're
thing.
just at the starting point. I'll actually pull it up at the end, and then people can
Should we go over? Yeah,
adding their things. Yeah, we'll pull it up. I was just going to show this because it's one more.
But for the boys with Asperger's, liking to be on your own, if you're on your own, you're going to be spotted by one of two groups. Either the predators that will torment you and tease you, or as a boy, you're spotted by the girls. And the girls are kind and nice to you, and you're cute and handsome and confused, and it brings out their maternal instincts, and they adopt you, and they're delighted to have captured a boy. And if you don't understand their games, that's all right. You're a boy. We will explain it to you. I'm going to play teacher or mum. Now, the problem for the boy is then, if he is with the girls, two things may occur. One, even further rejection from the boys because you play with girls, you're gay. Or he starts to imitate feminine gestures and movements because that's the group that accepts him. And he starts to think, if I became a girl, would I be cured of Asperger's? So right from the beginning, there can be what we call gender dysphoria, unhappy with your gender because of the not following the conventional sequence of friendships.
So you're not gay, you're just autistic.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's
the thing. Like,
is autism a mental illness? That's not a mental illness. You know,
there's it's probably a few years ago now, but there was one of the earlier Disaffected podcasts, Joshua Slocum, the Disaffected podcast.
Yeah.
And he's really interesting, but like he basically talks about how he talks about his mother and how he was raised, and very well lays out the case. Like, if I had been born 30 years later, I would have been trans by my mom. My mom would have 100% trans me. You know, and it's really interesting to have him lay it out how it all works. You know, like, and yeah, just that people should. I wish I knew what episode it was. I haven't kept up with Joshua Slocum, but I really enjoy.
Oh, I keep up every week. I watch every week. He kind of does
I need to catch up with him.
Well, he kind of more frequently does local interest stories from his like local school board and his local like he really covers it, but it is localized to where he's living in Vermont or something like that. Pretty often.
He's a small podcast. We're a small podcast. Have you ever tried talking to Joshua Slocum?
I have talked to Joshua Slocum for an hour.
We should talk to him on the internet with Kevin.
He only had like time in the middle of the day, but I've talked to him directly for like a whole hour. Yeah, I could maybe get him on. Yeah,
gays are so busy with all their gayness.
Yeah, he's great.
He's fascinating. I really like that. But like, especially like his early episode where he gets on his soapbox and explains like how the trans movement has hijacked the gay rights movement. Like, man, that stuff is solid gold.
And he's been hard on from the start. Actually, like his main podcast more covers local stuff, but catch him on other podcasts and he talks bigger things. He was on Brett Weinstein just recently, and he went on Radical Center's podcast just recently. Those are better because he kind of talks more general. But his podcast gets really into local politics of where he's around.
Man, he's in Vermont.
Dawkins has been going ham. He's been like 4 or 5 different tweets this week. And there's Elon Musk quoting on it. The ridiculous article, shame on the once great scientific American, ignorantly misunderstands the nature of sex binary. Actual research shows that sex is anything but binary. Sex is, that's in quotes from the article. Sex is not defined by chromosomes, nor by anatomy, nor by psychology or sociology, nor by personal inclination, nor by assignment at birth, but by gamete size. It happens to be embryologically determined by chromosomes in mammals, in the opposite direction birds, by temperatures in some reptiles, by social factors in some fish, but it is universally defined by the binary distinction between sperm and eggs. You may argue about gender if you wish. Biologists have better things to do. But sex is a true binary, one of the rather few in biology. I think it's so funny because like so much of this feels like you're being the autistic kid. Like they are dead. They are dead. They are dead.
Like, I learned about gametes in the 3rd goddamn grade.
Yeah.
We all did. And here I am 35 years later having to just like re-explain it.
He says the New Zealand government's chief scientific advisor is so ignorant of science that she thinks sex isn't binary. She may be right about gender, whatever that might be. But sex is binary, defined by gamete size. The government's chief scientific advisor should advise on science, not on the latest fashionable opinion of Generation TikTok. He's been going, like I say, and he's been going ham all week long. Like he's just like every single post. Anyway, though, should we talk about the? Oh, here's one post by Jacob. I named this podcast the Society for the Preservation of False Hope, and that's actually a call out to my uncle who just passed away. That was the name of his group that he always wanted to create and keep going, and he was just goofing around.
Oh,
He's just
that's
like,
brilliant.
I want to be the Society of Preservation of False Hope.
Can we get that on a shirt? Let's make that our shirt.
That'd be good. He passed away, and it was his thing. So yeah, we could take that from him. So just a reminder that a significant number of our members, like blank, who serve in almost all levels of church callings, have false hope and change and pretend God has not answered these questions around marriage and gender. They just don't like the answer they got. False hope and change. I mean, these arguments are just going ham. Like it's kind of wild that even in Thoughtful Saints, because like Thoughtful Saints is all divided. And it didn't used to be so much. I mean, there'd be little bits of stuff about like be nicer, but they all kind of generally agreed on stuff. But now, I mean, you just see like where lines get drawn on this sort of deal, and you have people like Dennis Lang in there who give you the CNN opinion on everything. But
Dennis Lang said to Jonathan, "I assume your parents were conservative."
Yeah. What did you say, Kevin? Kevin, your mic is real.
For a guy with such a fancy mic, you're really quiet.
I might have missed some of the stuff you've been saying because
because I keep talking like a jackass.
Is that better at all?
Yeah, it still just kind of sounds like you're in a closet.
Got a lot of compression there. Can you dial back on the gain? Have you got an equalizer there?
Yeah. How's that? Is that better?
Still sound like you're talking through a pillow. But don't stress. It's good enough.
Asa is a baby drag queen.
He started doing this 4 or 5, now 6 years old. He's by far the youngest performer we've seen.
There's even adult performers that sometimes you can outperform.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is the next RuPaul.
Did anyone think to ask if this was age appropriate? Anyone? Are we just letting kids do whatever they want with no parenting at all? Or are these kids actually being used as a means to an end to fulfill some kind of weird fantasy of the adults around them? But maybe there's something I'm not seeing.
What do you think the biggest misconception of Asa and what he's doing is? I think there's a few. People who don't like what we believe can sometimes be violent.
I love the way that Vice edited this. The interviewer asked, what do you think the biggest misconception is? Followed by, well, there's a few misconceptions. People don't like us. Good job, Vice. Excellent way to start the video with a non-answer. Eventually they do minutes later at the end of the documentary, after their critics have already been demonized as unreasonable. They say, a misconception is that our son is being forced to do this. While that does sound like a reasonable argument because maybe some people are saying that force is a factor, in reality, this is actually a straw man argument because force is not the main concern from critics. The main concern is that kids are being manipulated into willingly doing inappropriate stuff like this by adults who are creepy. With that said, this interview is from a Vice series called Child's Play. It features Aaron and Jen and their 6-year-old son, Asa, who does drag. While Vice appears to portray this family favorably by labeling all critics as hate mobs without showing their arguments, this whole situation begs the question of why? I have no problem with people identifying with or being a part of the LGBT community, but if you want to do things like drag dancing on stage, why can't you just wait till you're older? What's so urgent? Why do kids have to be exposed to and participate in drag? More importantly, how does a 6-year-old even know what this stuff is?
One of Asa's favorite pastimes since he was a toddler was dancing.
You watch a lot of Kids Bop videos, and then we noticed that he's trying to do the dances that they're doing in the music videos.
I was fully unaware that Kids Bop was still a thing.
How strange. Only gay kids dance on to videos. That's
Yeah.
everybody knows that. If your son, if your toddler dances to music, he's a queer. Jesus.
That stuff, I tell you what, yeah. I mean,
just,
it's weird that they're grouping in because they have to group in the LGBTQ stuff, and it kind of feels like if they did really want to infiltrate the church, maybe just like they did in society, they should start with one and then the other. Because like if you're kind of just trying to like push both of them in there, it's much easier to understand the gay one than it is that whole world of stuff going on. But I don't know. What do I know? Actually, before the CS letter stuff, I was going to talk about the Utah passed the DEI bill. No more DEI stuff, and of course,
yeah.
Dan McClellan and everybody freaked out.
Have you got the little bullet points of what the law actually does? Where it's like it basically says
Oh,
you
we had
may
it last
not
time, but
discriminate.
It just
And it's just funny,
reaffirms
like,
the Civil Rights Act of '64.
I mean, I haven't done it yet. I probably won't because, like, I mean, you sent me that link of my mayor talking about what a travesty the bill is, and I want to comment. Like, I want to comment with that list and say, Mayor Mendenhall, which of these provisions are you specifically against and why? Because all it says is that you cannot discriminate on the basis of race, sex, or race or sex. That's what it says. And you think that this is dangerous. A law that prohibits sex and race discrimination is only dangerous to people who intend to discriminate on the basis of race and sex. It's that simple.
Yep. And everybody, they all lost their minds about it.
It's dangerous to people who will go to prison if they keep doing the shit they're doing. That's what's dangerous to.
I wanted to acknowledge that Troy had mentioned it. There's a picture of Troy with James Randi.
That is the coolest thing. I met Michael Shermer, and that's the closest I've gotten to James Randi. Well, I guess I've met Penn Jillette and Teller, but James Randi is my hero. Like he's my absolute hero. I think he's the greatest human being that ever lived in my lifetime. Well, Norman Borlaug, and James Randi. There's two. Norman Borlaug, James Randi, George Harrison. Sorry, this list is getting longer.
Breaking news: Utah government costs signs transgender bathroom bill on diversity. Then I saw like Sim Gill, our district attorney, flipping his mind out about it. There's Dan McClellan. What an embarrassment! Dan, you're saying it's February 1st. It's Black History Month. You're saying the Civil Rights Act of '64 is an embarrassment.
He's really such an awful person. I think, like, I know I say this all the time, but like when I was a kid, I was obsessed with World War II, and I read about World War II, and I was also confused. Like, how did the Nazi phenomenon happen? And now I'm an adult, and I look at Dan and go, "Oh, that's how."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's how. Dan McClellan is one example of how Nazis happened.
The Salt Lake Tribune, the approval from Governor Cox is a marked shift to the right for him after he previously signed and encouraged others to sign the Utah Compact on Racial Equity and Diversity. I like this meme. Jared made this meme. It's a vampire afraid of the sun, Superman afraid of kryptonite, and it's Dan McClellan afraid of Thomas Sowell.
That's excellent. Oh God, if I had $1 million, I would buy a billboard at the end of his street and put that on there.
The Tribune doing its hack propaganda. Utah's transgender community is tired of being socially, medically, and legally raised. I mean, that's all part of it too.
The good news about the Tribune is that nobody reads it anymore.
Yeah. This one was funny. Mark Cuban just said, well, hey, man, when all things are equal, I just like use race and gender to make my hiring decisions. And he actually got quote tweeted and answered by a commissioner of the US EEOC. And this was wild to me because, like, I can't believe they're standing by the Civil Rights Act here to dunk on Cuban, which says EEOC commissioner here, unfortunately, you're dead wrong on black letter Title VII law. As a general rule, race, sex can't even be a motivating factor, nor a plus factor, nor a tiebreaker, or a tipping point. It's important employers understand the ground rules here. That's the Civil Rights Act of '64. That's what I'm trained on as a senior professional in human resources. And that's what I've been screaming about all this DEI stuff. Like there's a weird world where even me, I feel like I'm going out and saying you guys are breaking what the law actually is and what we go by, pushing this DEI stuff, and you feel like you could be fired in some sort of way from your job, which was been trained in how to protect the Civil Rights Act, which the law we just passed was reaffirming the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
Which is, no, you can't use that stuff as tipping motivating factors. Fire him for following the law. That's the schizophrenic state of the country we've been in because of this crap.
Yeah. Laws against racism won't let us racism.
Harvard's chief diversity officer, Sherry Ann Charleston, appears to have plagiarized extensively in her academic work, lifting large chunks of text without. Yeah.
No, like, I mean, I don't know. Is it higher education? Like, it's the pants are off, guys, right? Like, we can. The emperor has no clothes. Like, can we just? I don't know. It makes me sad. Like, I think about it all the time. Like, I really romanticized college and the principle of higher education as a kid. And like every single college graduate I've met has just been another little nail in the coffin of my little childhood dreams about like the ideals of a classical education.
Yeah. Alberta, Canada is banning puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for children under 16. Same stuff has happened. We have that same guy in Thoughtful Faith who was also in Latter-day Lobster, who says he's a doctor and goes giving his kids. It's now banned in Alberta and the Nordic countries, and all those people. England has started doing it too. And no, we're still just doing it for the good and the non-cause harming of the kids.
It's like, wasn't it? It's Holland, right? Holland was on the forefront because, like, first, Holland was on the forefront of affirming gender surgeries, and since they've had the most time to see the damage, they were among the first to scale it back and say, "Oh, whoops! It turns out this isn't working, and it's actually destroying humans."
There it is, right there in writing. Unlike gay identity, that's Judith Butler talking about. Gay identity isn't queer, and you can never quite be. There's nothing in particular to which it necessarily refers. It is an identity without an essence. Queer then demarcates not a positivity, but a positionality vis-a-vis the normative. So queer is being against the normative. That's all queer is.
Yeah.
A positionality that is not restricted to lesbians and gay men, but is in fact available to anyone who is or who feels marginalized because of his or her sexual practices. Oh, so it could be super straight people too. It could include some married couples without children, for example, or even, who knows, some married couples with children, with perhaps very naughty children. Queer, in any case, does not designate a class of already objectified pathologies or perversions. Rather, it describes a horizon of possibility whose precise extent and heterogeneous scope cannot, in principle, be delimited in advance. It is from eccentric positionality occupied by the queer subject that it may become possible to envision a variety of possibilities for reordering the relations among sexual behavior, erotic identities, construction of gender norms, knowledge, regimes of enunciation, logic, representation, modes of self-construction. It's just gobbledygook.
Short Fat Otako's video was good.
Yeah, queer identity. Yeah, how the military became the country's largest employer of trans Americans.
Wait, the military is the largest employer of trans Americans. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Huh.
So there's this.
I wonder how that's working out.
Shannon Hill. So if you don't like her books, then go read them, because if you don't like them, it probably means you haven't read them. Okay, so Shannon Hill is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and she's an incredibly gifted writer. I am a huge fan of hers. I read all the Goose Girl books and love them. Of the four, Anna Burning probably had the most impact on me. I read all the Princess Academy books and adored them. The third book is probably my favorite because it's basically Anne Shirley fighting Cayman. Just kidding, kind of. I also read all the Ever After High books as a 30-something-year-old woman, and I'm excited to read those to my daughter. I also love Dangerous, Austenland, Midnight in Austenland, and The Actor and the Housewife broke me. Okay, sorry, back to the point. Among other children's books, Shannon Hill has written a series called The Princess in Black, which my family and I adore. My daughter loves these books, and we're constantly buying the newest one. Well, my partner just notified me that Shannon Hill just released a new one. So yeah, for reasons after I saw this, I decided to do some digging. I used to follow her social media pretty regularly, but since leaving the church in 2021, I sort of lost track of her. I found out that she loves the Barbie movie and is mad about the Oscars. Who isn't? She also has a cat named Mike Hat.
Your dog's name is Mike Hat?
Mike Hat.
Your dog's name is Mike, last name Hat.
His full name is Michael Hat.
And it turns out that Shannon Hill is an LGBTQ ally.
Yeah.
And this also leads me to another book that she wrote, which we found at the store, and we bought it just because it had her name on it. And it's called Itty Bitty Kitty Corn. The story is about a kitten who desperately wants to be a unicorn, and the kitten meets a friend that has a secret of their own. As we read the book in the store, we couldn't help but see that it was transgender affirming. And I know she's a member of the church, so I wasn't sure if that was intentional, but we loved it, so we bought it anyway. But yeah, totally on purpose. One of Shannon's biggest messages is that we should allow children to be themselves. And currently, Texas is trying to get this book banned. And the Deseret News released an article about it about 4 months ago. And that led me to this clip.
I've been told the problem with it is it encourages children to be who they are. I know we laugh because it's like, you're not reinventing the wheel there in children's books. But the fear, what's the fear behind it? If you tell a child to be who they are, then you can't control who they're going to become. And that's really scary. And that's what always happens with fear. It starts with fear, and the response to fear is control. And that's what we're seeing. And what I really want to do today, and throughout this whole hour that we're together, is to see how we can inject compassion into that fear. Because fear cannot last when there's compassion involved. As soon as we inject compassion into fear,
Fear cannot last when there's compassion. What fucking gobbledygook? Just
and we can problem solve together.
I freaking love her. Also, there was an article published last year on Mother Jones titled, "Are You There, God? It's Me, Shannon Hill." And I want to read some of that to you. Concerning her new Princess in Black book, Hale addressed the hypocrisy of readers who embrace a strong female character but reject a male character who isn't conventionally macho. She speaks out against policies that she considers hateful, abortion bans, for instance, and rules that seek to limit gender-affirming medical care. And of course, she opposes book banning. The article goes on to say that aside from being an author, Hale's
Like genderqueer, right, chick?
identity is as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that she is also a liberal activist. The article also says that she stopped going to church in 2021, and that ultimately it was the church's rejection of LGBTQ people, history of racism, and continual subjugation of women that led her to stop attending. Though she still sees good in the church and considers herself a Mormon, she didn't want to raise her children in that environment. Still, there is a genuine sense of loss. Shannon Hill said, "I am Mormon. I was born and raised in it, and generations back. It isn't like something I can just pluck out of myself. It's still who I am, but I don't quite belong there, and I don't belong anywhere." Shannon, if you're out there, my heart goes out to you. I love you. I love your books. You were my childhood hero and the reason I have a bachelor's degree in literature. And I'm thrilled that you were spreading these messages of hope, acceptance, and validation. The church lost a great one.
Ideology, I am doing it. My ideology. And the reason why I am doing it is intersectionality. I mean, just like fawning praise for this is a good, I'll just clip it in here because it's too long for talk, but this is a surgeon who talks about how DEI just completely infiltrated the surgeon's world, and he was certified beyond that to be a doctor who was invited into other places because he was a plastic surgeon, but he was good enough to like move into other areas, so he's invited on this board, and he started speaking out against it. But one of the things he says in this several times, and of course he mentions Thomas Sowell, so don't talk about this guy's evidence. And he also talks about Ibram Kendi and how there's no evidence in critical race theory and all that sorts of stuff. It's really good. But one of the things he talks about is it's not just that most people under 40 get wrapped up in the ideology of it. He says, even if somebody wants to be good, they yoink you away for so many of these bullshit trainings that he says so many surgeons, if they want to be very, very good at everything, they should not be wasting so much time in these trainings. So he says, you need to be aware of people under 40, not just because of them being true believers. They've had less hours of training on the job overall with people because they get wrapped up in DEI conferences constantly.
So, Risto commented, "We've never used toys in the bedroom. Is that queer today?" And I'm going to send you in the thing what happened because I tried to comment sarcastically, and check this out. Let's hope this screen clip worked. But look what happened. Who is doing this to us? Do you see? I sent it in the messages. Can you post that on screen?
Yes, sir, can.
What is going on? Like, this is our little private space. We're on YouTube. This is our little world. Who is censoring us?
What the heck?
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Do you see what happened? That's nuts. Look what just happened.
Oh, I know that YouTube doesn't allow those words. I wonder if it allows it because it's showing it in the things.
I tried fag and because it was just joke like fag. Like obviously, but then I thought like, well, surely they'll be okay with queer, but like,
yeah,
so creepy. That's so creepy.
Studies fields. stopped being political. Political meaning a situation where people can have different points of view, even though they take points of view.
Right.
And they became totalitarian.
Correct.
Which means there is no possibility of having more than one point of view. Once a field becomes totalitarian, once it loses the debate that marks a political situation, thinking itself becomes degraded. Because why would you try and think different thoughts? Your whole job is to find a script and to follow it. And the logical conclusion of that is to actually start to recite it.
Right.
To repeat it, plagiarize it.
Right.
But it's not plagiarism, because as a good party member, you're repeating the mantras of the master. You are citing the key phrases. You are showing how history all can be understood through this master narrative. Some of these fields, if not all of them, especially the studies fields, stopped being political. Political meaning.
This is seriously tripping me out. I'm trying different combinations. I tried capitalizing it. Like, look at that.
It's so great that you're queer and you can write it.
If I make it positive, that's allowed. Because I thought, like, I was gonna try. Does it care if you capitalize it? Is that what it's looking for? But I tried it again. You can see right there.
It's able to be contextual and it's AI reading.
Wow, that's incredible. Big Brother's watching.
That's what Big Brother looks like. He's watching.
There he is.
Oh man. Jared was gonna do his degenerate book review because he read 1984.
Let me say that
the feature version of 1984, but we're gonna have to wait till next week. The book says woke crap on it.
That's so good.
Jared's degenerate book review.
I have to say I'd like, because I saw the report, like, oh, they're making a 1984 told from Julia's perspective and it's all feminist. I'm like, oh, okay, that'll be dumb. I could not have fathomed
the story he's been telling us is
the story he's been telling. It's
so
beyond insane. I expected it just to be hack. I just expected it to be like basic hack shit. The story that it really is so nuts. It's like 50 Shades of Big Brother. Like, it's really fucked up. Like, deeply, intensely, psychologically fucked up. The author is obviously a wreck.
Yeah.
But also, like, he talks about how much the author hates Winston. Like, just hates Winston. And, like, just Winston's an idiot. He's stupid. He doesn't understand anything. He's too dumb to see through everything. Like, yeah, it's really astounding.
This is Glenn Lowry going off on DEI stuff.
I love Glenn.
Stuff. I moved to say, get your hands off my dignity. Don't patronize me. God damn it. Said the Supreme Court got this one right last summer. Oh, goodness gracious. So,
are we doing? Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get into writing a letter to a CES, or what do we call it? An ex-Mormon influencer.
Yeah, letter to an ex-Mormon influencer.
I don't know if it's got every tab, every single thing that we've thought of already yet.
This is a work in progress. We can expand it.
Yeah.
In fact, listeners, feel free to contribute.
Oops, let me stop sharing that. Present, share screen. Does it go echoey when I go into this?
No.
Okay. You want to read some of them or pull it because I got to run to the restroom. Let me put it down where you can start reading some of them. So there's a ton of different things there, and I think I have some extra ones too. But everybody start giving us ideas, and we'll make the full final list and present it all presentable with being as snarkless as possible when we can. And we'll make an actual video saying, "Hey, we actually do." We'll put up the real challenge and as snarkless and as polite as possible. Go ahead and read into that. I'll be right back.
Whoa, what's happening? Am I reading? LGBT issues. Suicide stats aren't what you think they are. The harms of the church. Mormon religious prosperity is actually real and independent of truth claims. Ruminating on the harms of religion is worse for you than actually being in the religion without that rumination. Living in a culture that is mostly attached to reality is better than living in one that is mostly detached from reality. Where will you go? The founders of secular philosophies are actually way more evil than Joseph Smith. Yes. Postmodern philosophies are more detached from reality than Mormonism. Yup. The natural man is an enemy to God is less evil than all cis hetero white people are racist phobic oppressors. I got that today. Cult dynamics aren't unique to religion. Boy, howdy. Just because you left the church doesn't mean you have anything useful to say, Kara. Try not starting a podcast. Historicism and MLK's assertion about the moral arc ain't true. Shit can get worse. You could replace bad for worse very easily in this life. We might want to do a little bit of copy editing on that. The new morality. Men aren't synonymous with evil cult oppressors. I don't know. The people in LDS Uncensored tell me that I am. Sexual and chemical excess are as playing with fire for your current life as the religious say they are for your next life. Like, this is something I remember, like, geez, even 25 years ago, like, when I was on my way out of the church, but I was still, like, I still believed in God, you know? And actually, I should say, like, even after, like, I was out of the church, like, I didn't believe in the church anymore. I was basically an atheist. And I remember talking to my friend who I later realized was just literally a sociopath. Because, you know, he was cheating on his girlfriend at the time and all this stuff. And I remember thinking, I just, like, even though I didn't believe in a soul, I remember having this conversation with him, like, I think that casual sex is bad for your soul. You know, and I meant that, like, you know, like, I don't believe in a literal soul, but like the Jordan Peterson style of soul, like, yeah, like, even then, like, it's just, you know, it's not because I believe that God said it was wrong. I was just looking around at life and thinking, like, well, okay, this is bad. Like, you're playing with too many emotions. There's so much potential for damage. It's just not good for you, you know? But try to explain that to the John DeLynns of the world. Like, you know, like, the church cannot be true, and it can also be true that monogamy is preferable to polyamory for everyone involved. Like, polyamory causes harm, is what I would say there, like, compared to monogamy.
Which one are you on?
I don't. You've moved it. We went down a little bit. Yeah. Okay. The new morality. I think. Oh, yeah.
Is that what you are? Or did you want to go into where do we go? The founders of secular philosophies, and
yeah, we read
actually
that one.
way more. You already read that one.
Yeah, well, no, because, like, so talking about this, because, like, this is part of, like, when you say the founders of secular philosophies, this is why, like, you know, one of my contributions was there's a reason why you don't know the name of the first woman to be elected to the Senate. And, like, have you guys ever heard of her? Do you, like, have any idea who I'm talking about? Or what?
I
Like,
think I've heard you say it before. But
and this is the thing, is, like, I stumbled on this in one of my Wikipedia walks when I was on an entirely different topic. I don't even know why. And I was like, what? Why haven't I heard about the first woman and feminist to be elected to the Senate? After she was married at age 18, Felton and her husband owned slaves before the Civil War, and she was the last member of Congress to have been a slave owner. Felton was a white supremacist. She claimed, for instance, that the more money Georgia spent on black people's education, the more crimes black people committed. For the 1893 World's Columbia's Exposition, she, quote, proposed a Southern exhibit illustrating the slave period with a cabin and real colored folks making mats, shuck collars, and baskets, a woman to spin and card cotton, and another to play banjo to show the actual life of the slave, not the Uncle Tom sort. She wanted to display the ignorant, contented darky as distinguished from Harriet Beecher Stowe's monstrosities. Felton considered young blacks who sought equal treatment half-civilized gorillas and ascribed to them a brutal lust for white women. While seeking suffrage for white women, she decried voting rights for black people, arguing that it led directly to the rape of white women. Felton also advocated more lynchings of black men, saying that such was Elysian compared to the possible rape of white women. On August 11, 1898, Felton gave a speech to Tybee Island, Georgia, to several hundred members of the Georgian State Agricultural Society. She urged an increase in lynchings in order to protect rural white women from being raped by black men. When there is not enough religion in the pulpit to organize a crusade against sin, nor justice in the courthouse to promptly punish crime, nor manhood enough in the nation to put a sheltering arm about innocence and virtue, it needs lynching to protect woman's dearest possessions from the ravening human beasts. Then I say lynch 1,000 times a week if necessary. Mrs. W.H. Felton, August 11th, 1898. This is just a piece of it. Now, again, I stumbled on this by accident. I didn't know this. I wasn't looking for shit on feminism when I found out that the first woman to be elected, the first self-described feminist and woman to be elected to the United States Senate. This is why nobody talks about her. We all know the name of so many female pioneers and feminist pioneers.
As
but
we brought
for
up
some
before,
reason, this one doesn't make the grade.
Read, like, from the start of feminism, read the letter at Seneca Falls, the letter of grievances or something like that at Seneca Falls. It sounds like the Day of Grievances from Seinfeld, that holiday that they have, the airing of grievances. But read the feminist Bible, then read about the Theosophists who carried that stuff on from there, like the mother of the guy who wrote Baum, who wrote Wizard of Oz and all that sort of stuff. It was also the Vanderbilts. It was rich, crazed, satanic, sex-crazed, divorcing, nutty women who hated men at the start of first feminism. Not second wave, not third wave. But that's a whole different story. Did you get to the historicism and MLK's assertion, which we've covered before? Are you there? Did flip go away? The new morality. Men aren't synonymous with evil cult oppressors. Sexual and chemical excess are as playing with fire for your current life as the religious way are for your next life. All of the worst civilizational level crimes in history were committed by self-appointed righteous do-gooders who believed they were saving the world from itself. That one should say. Saving the world from itself. The philosophies of men mingle with scripture are no less dangerous than philosophy of men without scripture mingling. The merit of organized religion. Religion evolves, improved, and served a functional role in individual and societal prosperity and stability. Be grateful. Deconstruction is easy. Blank slateism isn't true. Men and women are different. Words have meanings. Intentionality. Each one of these need to be like expounded on more things. We're just kind of putting out bullet points. Intentionality of the author matters. People who tell you they only see data about dogma are lying intentionally. There's a reason none of you can name America's first woman feminist. That's one the flip just added, I guess. Conspiracies and secret combinations can be perfectly real. Ezra Taft Benson wasn't straight wrong. Prestigious and scientific institutions can be hijacked, which also means Foucault the pederast wasn't all wrong. That was me typing. Secular utopia in this life is more dangerous than the idea of religious utopia in the next life. Terrible ideologies and organizations do sneak up the sleeves of movements that claim pure, happy, lovey things like the Civil Rights Act. That's not all just complete conjecture and, oh my gosh, these crazy people said that stuff. It happened and was happening. Hidden motives are real. Dark traits didn't just exist in Joseph Smith or modern leaders. They exist in every politician you ever darn come across that you turn around and idolize it, or you turn to statism or something like that. If you left your faith because of examining its faults, but haven't yet examined the faults of whatever ideology you then adopted, your work ain't finished. And that includes, like, when you start talking about patriarchy. Marty had on that lady this week. I forget her name. She was pretty good. She talked about all this stuff, but then they just like full-throated talk about patriarchy. Like, I've deconstructed all things and talked all things, but patriarchy is real. Patriarchy is just a whole other thing. And there's always another thing that you should have looked at harder. Religions have evolved alongside humanity to serve the totality of human existence. You've only actually lived the part of human existence that you know according to your age. You might be surprised what the full extent of human life lived involves and how religion interfaces with it. The community and privilege you grew up in is a product of all the good and the bad of the aims and the worldviews of your predecessors. It all could fall apart very easily. If it does fall apart, you will be leaning and depending on the very same people to get through once again. Look at things through the lens of power dynamics robs you of the benefit of things which are powerful because they are effective and useful, and deprives you of beauty, strength, and merit because those are inevitable targets for dismantling in such a worldview. Statism and politics as religion is the fire you jump into when jumping out of the frying pan. That was Nietzsche's whole warning. Deconstructionism is a child's knee-jerk reaction to anything not immediately understandable. Queerness is not a material biological reality. It is a philosophy in the costume of a political identity, which can be assumed and discarded on the basis of belief. And we got more coming. I typed up a bunch of other ones, but you have any other ones? Let me read a couple more that I think didn't get in there. Empathy is a double-edged sword. Science is a liar sometimes. What is that?
Scientific institutions can be ideologically captured.
Yes,
it
they
is
can
possible.
have financial interest and lie to you. Foucauldian history sucks. We've talked about in the past. I go into bullet points more, but that's the way Dan McClellan does history. Deconstruction has no end. It can deconstruct you and anything. Hating true history is multi-sided. You always see them say it on the left, like, if you hate true history, you've got a problem. And they're just referring to what critical race theorists said. You better talk about the racism that happened. There's true history that you guys will hate if you learn true history. Poopy contextualization makes you dumb. Fitness is good. Beauty exists and matters. Climate change, net zero, and antinatalism take on identities of death cults. We can rank things in this world. And yes, one of the things we can rank are the tenets of Ortho Islam is much worse than the present day Orthodox Christianity. We can rank things. We're not postmodernists. Disparities exist in families, comparing states, comparing same skin colors, in sex. In sex, the other way around than you're used to looking at. There are disparities that happen to men over women. Flip started this podcast talking about the wage gap. There's all sorts of wage gaps for men. Like, you're looking at one single thing. There's a wage gap for men in modeling or something like that. There's a gap for men in dying in jobs. There's a gap for men in all sorts of areas. But
Like,
there's a gap.
let's talk about the gender wage gap on OnlyFans. Is that structural determinism that
Do you want to know
makes it
what
so
else?
that men can't make money on
There is a
OnlyFans?
wage gap between firstborn and secondborn and thirdborn and fourthborn child. There's a wage gap between states. There's a wage gap between people of the same everything, but they just get grouped into two different ways. You cannot not find a wage gap. That's the Thomas Sowell thing that Dan McClellan, everything's data until we look at any of that data. New dogma over data. Born This Way was deconstructed by queer theory. I can pull up the NPR, the Radio Lab that goes into detail about that with you, get into all the what they tried to write and then avoided writing into constitutional ideas or civil rights acts because they didn't want to say born this way because that throws into question queer theory. Queer theory and born this way are 100% at odds. 100% at odds.
Yeah.
John DeLynn and RFM and Bill Hill, mainstream media lies, and it lies often. It lies all the time. You guys.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just learned something I had no idea about because Risto says talk about the etymology of empathy, which is something I'd never considered before. I just assumed it was a Greek word that went back to Greek times. Empathy, noun, 1908. Modeled on German Einfühlung from ein, in, and Fühlung, feeling, which was coined in 1858 by German philosopher Rudolf Lotze as a translation of Greek empathy, a passion state of emotion, from assimilated form of en, pathos, feeling. A term from a theory of art appreciation that maintains appreciation depending on the viewer's ability to project his personality into the viewed object. But I didn't realize that this whole concept of empathy was a 20th century word coining.
Yeah. To go along
That's
with
amazing.
empathy,
I had no idea. That's thanks, Risto. I
to
learned
go along with
something.
empathy, there's a major wage gap and an education gap in the world of therapy and life coaches and all that sort of stuff. Major. There's a major gap in all of the different social sciences and soft sciences in the world. And those aren't sciences. They're soft sciences for a reason. Like most of all of your studies and that stuff regresses to the means. And most of all your concepts of therapy and all those sorts of things, not saying it's a zero, it's saying you better deconstruct it.
I decided to poke the bear in uncensored.
Feminism has dubious shit from the start. Feminism both created and destroyed the free sex movement.
True.
It did both of those. Women can lie. They do lie.
What?
Standpoint epistemology concepts are stupid. Interest convergence theory, that is the theory that people are only nice to blacks if it goes along with their own interests, is just so cynical. And that is the way of the world to critical race theorists. So you, Dan McClellan, you can only, and this is one of the things I say, is like, it can be true with Democrats. The problem with it, any sort of these postmodernists and any sort of these people, some of the stuff they say is true. It's just they think it's a cosmic truth. Interest convergence is truth. You, Dan McClellan, your interests, your political interests converge with critical race theory. And that is why you take up and carry the mantle for critical race theory, because of interest convergence. It serves your political interests. There is straight up porn in books that people push in schools. Removing something from a school library isn't a banning. Therapy and life coaching can exacerbate rather than ameliorate anxiety and other maladies. Story and heroes matter. Equity efforts have negative side effects. Determinism and explaining away poor decision making is determined to cause more poor decision making.
Risto has another contribution. Your bad experience with your previous church or religion may color your future perspectives toward religion in general. You don't say.
Bad
That's a good one.
experience negatively.
It's in the comments. Do you want me to?
I'm typing it on the thing.
Cool. You're putting it right in. Yeah.
Bad experience negatively. That you got
Your
one
bad
added
experience.
in, Risto.
Your bad experience with your previous church or religion may color your future perspectives toward religion in general.
Yeah, I'll cut and paste it. That's a better
Yeah.
idea.
We're collaborating. We made a space and we're collaborating.
Ah, dang it! I can't highlight and copy that. I have to type it right out of it.
Really, it won't let you.
No.
You're right. I think I did it.
You typed it in?
We're such good podcasters. We're amazing.
I'll
I
show
put it.
type.
I
Oh,
put
there
it
you
in the
go. Got there.
messages.
I'll copy and paste and I'll put it right on the thing there. I've got to put in
Kablamo.
some of these other ones that I've been saying right here. I haven't entered them in yet. But every single one of them needs to be expounded upon if we're going to make it like a CES letter to them. But strangely enough, it just ultimately becomes like a CES letter to leftism, really. I mean, I don't really know.
No, that's exactly, yeah. Like we are. This is all just blue church shit. It's blue church. It's, you know what it is? It's blue church with Mormon characteristics.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
The last couple I had, and we obviously have more to go, and then we have to like group them all correctly. But movement, liturgy, performance matters. Like it changes things about you if you're up and moving and doing things, and that can be held true for religious or, you know, Flip talks about it with funeral. You know,
yeah.
Sex is real, and that's what I got for right now. That's the start.
I got one more for Kara. Magic mushrooms aren't actually
Oh,
magic.
yeah, we had that one in there somewhere. Drugs are just drugs.
Yeah, drugs are just drugs.
Just drugs. You know, drugs are just drugs.
Magic mushrooms aren't literally magic.
Magic mushrooms aren't magic. Oh, I had a thing with Bill Real suggested to people. They were talking about polyamory in Thoughtful Faith, and he suggested they read, what's that book? Sex at Dawn. And that book, Sex at Dawn, has so many false assertions in it. And I copied him and saying, like, here's a book that goes into the pseudoscience of that thing. That book says that your penis is only mushroom shaped to pull out other sperms because everybody was boinking the same girl, and that your sperms have fighter sperms in them to fight off the other sperms because your sperms know that they can be in there with a bunch of other sperms, and that's how humans developed. And it's got all sorts of wacky stuff like that, and that's what Bill Real is pushing. Is like, oh, you might rethink your stuff, which I could say. I mean, we could go into like a list of the people. Transhumanism stuff, and Noel Harari crap. Transhumanism stuff I don't know what to put on it yet. Is bonky. Centralized control. Becomes totalitarian. Oh, and I need to put stuff in about managerial classes and bureaucracies. Stuff to keep talking about. Oh, that is not how you spell that word. How do you spell bureaucracy?
That every time I
always
try to
throws me
spell
off.
bureaucracy, I always get messed up. B-U-R.
Bureaucracy. Did you see
No,
that
that's
we're
not
called a
that.
kakistocracy in our this in our image for the show? So here, present, share screen. Where did it go?
Yeah, we can throw Margaret Sanger in there. That's another.
Mar-
Margaret
oh,
Sanger,
yeah.
like enough people have brought up Margaret Sanger that feminists like automatically just go. They do that,
Yeah.
like that's been dealt with thing. Like whereas Rebecca Felton is one that I like because I've tested this. Like, does anybody know what Rebecca Latimer Felton means? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So yeah, because I decided to poke the bear in Uncensored, and I made a post where I linked to Rebecca Latimer Felton's website, and this is my post. The founders of the church had stupid and evil beliefs. I wonder what the founders of feminism thought. I wonder if anyone in this group could name the first feminist and woman be elected to the U.S. Senate. I wonder if anyone wonders why nobody has heard of or talks about the first feminist and woman to be elected to the Senate.
Yeah, there's all sorts of people we could just like add to that for sure. Too.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. Yeah,
Margaret
yeah.
Sanger and
Oh, there's so many. Like, well, that's the other thing. Like, I when I was visiting my son in the UK when we were in our hotel in London, like, I don't even remember how we got on the subject of like woke shit and feminism and stuff, and I said like, have you ever heard of the feminist bombing campaign? And he went, what? And I just said, just go to your phone and Google feminist bombing campaign. And like, I just had delight watching his face as he read and learned for the first time about the feminist.
Do you remember when we
bombing
went over that nutty feminist who tried to kill Andy Warhol? And
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
story.
What was her name? She
This
wrote the
this
Sun
word in the
Manifesto.
middle here, kakistocracy. It's one of
Oh.
Dan McClellan's favorite words. Do you know what it is?
It's Dick Rule.
It's
I don't
ruled by the stupidest, yeah, or something
Mm.
like that. Yeah. But that's the funny things about that. We're the kakistocracy.
Kakistocracy.
Kakistocracy meaning government by the least suitable or competent citizens of the state, which is what we are in. But if
Yeah.
Dan McClellan got in, we would only go farther into it.
Otherwise, like, welcome to your utopia. Here we are.
Yeah, so keep pumping us with ideas. Like, shoot them over to us in the longhouse.
Yeah, that resto, that thing, like the abortion, the whole like the racial disparities in abortion that the left utterly ignores.
Oh, yes,
that's a big point. I
And
mean,
racial
what's his name?
aims initially of that.
MLK's daughter was considered and should be considered a conspiracy crank because she thinks that the abortion rates among African Americans is because of white supremacy, when it obviously has nothing to do with that.
Neo-Malthusianism is real. Like the people who really think you got to depopulate the planet, who are in positions who have some ability to try to pull shit like that. Yeah, that's the stuff. That's the stuff we're we would like them to address or think about, that they don't realize that they go around just pumping out. And
Yeah.
we've been sick of it. We've been sick of it a long time. Oh, is that your Flip? Did you
Yeah, I sent it to the group. I wonder if I'll even get a bite. I think because people have figured out that
you're gonna get banned from there, man. Flip, the most banned man in ex-Mormonism.
Yeah, I'm banned from ex-Mormonism for saying we should be nice to Mormons. It's okay to be nice to Mormons, even Kevin.
Oh Lord.
Because for one thing, like if you're mean, well, wait. So, that brings up the thing. Do we have that post that Jared shared with us with the girl that's like the lady? The lady's like, before my deconstruction when I moved, 30 people showed up to help. Now, no one showed up, and it's like, and I made the comment. It's like,
find it fast because it's got like small writing. And
since I announced that Mormons are, a patriarchal, toxic, masculine society that oppresses gays and women, nobody wants to help me move.
Yeah, and but some of the other stuff we're gonna do is we're gonna do our little segments. There's gonna be a Flips Booze corner.
I've only got one.
Been making some of those.
I only have one glass.
I'm gonna make one for one glass. I wanted to make one for like I said, there's my diet corner thing. It's got a sticky can of chicken right there.
Get your can of chicken.
I love how like I come off so crusty and all these, man. But I guess that's what the AI reads, man. Kevin always just comes off glamorous looking.
Yeah. Like Kevin is like, it reminds me like, because I had a mission companion. Like this is one of those things where I learned about like just the nature of like the inequality of fashion and body types is that I had a mission companion. It was like a weird thing because he ended up being my best mission friend. And it was a weird thing in Mission Land in that we were companions in 2 different times, and we ended up spending more than 6 months together in aggregate. And then on top of that, we were in the same district or lived in the same house briefly, before that thing I mentioned before earlier. So anyway, like I ended up spending half of my mission with this one guy. We wore the exact same clothes. Like we were close enough that we could share clothes if we needed to. We went shopping and bought the same clothes. But he always looked like $1 million, and I always looked like a clown. Like, and it's just a fact. Like, and it's just that my
It's a disparity. It's a disparity.
It's a disparity. Yeah, it's a disparity. It's I'm being oppressed. But like, yeah, like we would buy the exact same shirts, and he just looked good, and I looked like a clown. I don't know why. It's just a fact of life.
That's Kevin's meme. That one's gotten the most traction actually out there in the world of Twitter. But we're gonna try to make a meme thread to send out to the world for people to use for Gang McClellan.
McClellan.
Let me find what this one's. This doesn't really look like Kevin, but it's that art style has that nose thing going on.
That nose. Also, it looks like his ears are pierced, which is not true.
Always looks at Flip's always got booze with them.
No, Jonathan says like he explicitly tells the AI to put 2 wine glasses in my hand, which I only do when I'm tasting wine.
See, even that one looks all Dapper Danny of right there. This one,
no, like this is like this is the cruelty of Mormonism is that Kevin is a monogamist.
Yeah,
for women.
Yeah.
Kevin's just depriving all those women.
Yeah, all mine are just crusty, man.
Like I don't have a God that tells me that I shouldn't fuck whoever wants to fuck me. Like Kevin is like just has to be like, I'm sorry, my God said no. I'm sorry, ma'am.
I love these McClellan looking ones, but and then of course he had the Jake ones. He says he's gonna be dropping some Cardin and Quaker ones sometime soon too. Well,
Leslie,
I mean, I guess the Quaker one.
I've never seen a comment from Leslie before. Is Leslie new? Leslie, patriarchy is the result of biologically dimorphic species in which males are larger and stronger. Elderly men in Salt Lake didn't invent it. I would kind of edit that a little bit, but just because, like, because part of the problem is like the capital P patriarchy as defined by feminism does not exist. It is not real. There are patriarchies, but there are also matriarchies.
Yeah, there's the feminist theory of patriarchy, and then there's patriarchies.
Yeah, but like, yeah, because that's in feminism,
not all of them are bad.
Yeah,
copy that one. Oh, you got it in there.
I did it. Yeah, in
You're
feminism,
added in.
There's capital P patriarchy, but yeah, because like the reality is that all civilizations have patriarchies and matriarchies integrated within them. Like that's just a fact. The that's our whole thing. The longhouse.
Yep, the longhouse is more of a matriarchy. Yep. I think we're about hitting the the
think
final
we did it.
times there. That's our segments. But I've got a doggy who is just jonesing to get walking, and he always starts doubting me at this point. Thanks for the addition, Leslie. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Ruled by the least competent. Yeah, that's a funny one. Anyway, y'all, we're gonna keep adding to that, and we're gonna clear it up and make it good, and then we're gonna release it as an attempt to actually get some sort of possible debate going, just like Jacob might have pulled off. Who knows if that'll actually happen? I bet you there'll be so many caveats that nobody will accept the terms. It's not gonna
My
go
answer when Riso says Marxism just hasn't been tried right. It's like when I'm talking to ex-Mormons, when they say true Marxism has never been tried, my immediate response is true Mormonism has never been tried.
Marxism has never been tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep giving this idea.
Marxism was tried. 100 million people died.
Oh yeah, that's the actual thing. Marxism was tried.
Yeah, we have tried Marxism. We are still trying Marxism. It fails every time, horribly.
Anyway,
Alrighty.
time for Poochie to walk. Thanks for chilling, y'all. Thanks for ideas.
Thanks for showing up, Kevin.
Yeah,
popping up and filling in.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Thanks, everybody. We need to make a Kevin's corner of one of these things.
Yeah.
We got one of my final corners are I'm going to make one of Chris's autistic hero of the week.
You know, like, do you notice? Because like, I sell booze. You're a bureaucrat. Kevin is the only person who produces practical shit.
And kids and
kids. And
yeah,
great hair.
we're a walking example of what we're trying to tell you. The
Yeah.
religious guys got it all figured out, and the rest of us are just we're just here bitching.
Kevin is the guy living life.
Autistic reporter Michael Falk joins us now with his interview. Nice to see
All
you.
right.
I cannot see you, bro. I can only hear you.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, this is the one. Yeah,
Hello, bro.
slow that down.
I finished speaking with Brian Wasserman 26 minutes ago, and I've been standing here since then waiting for you to talk to me. Watch that interview now. Brian Wasserman used to live in a very big mansion. Now he lives in a tiny jail cell. Is living in prison different from living in a 40,000 square foot mansion in Westchester?
Yeah, it's different.
How is it different from living in a 40,000 square foot mansion in Westchester?
Well, it's every second of my day is accounted for. It's just
all the Onion actors from like 11 years ago. How did all of them not just become like mega famous?
Yeah,
Like,
what
they're-
happened
they're-
to the Onion? What happened?
Oh, the Onion went to crap, but it used to have such good stuff. Like all the stuff from 10, 11 years ago is all still relevant. One of my favorite ones is all the football players from a coin flip. They all go total nihilistic because they say, how can a coin flip decide our lives? And they just like go start like wallowing around the field and
Yeah.
flopping around on the
Yeah,
ground.
they end up in an existential philosophical crisis.
If
day
coin
after
flip
day
can
of,
determine our
rigid
lives.
routine.
Rigid routine. What is the rigid routine?
Well, we get up at exactly 6 a.m.
Yes.
Exactly 6:15 a.m. Everyone is counted.
Counted.
Yeah, we have to line up 7 times a day
Line
to
up.
be counted.
Line up and be counted.
And then there's the food.
This is why I ultimately followed all the mission rules, because I'm basically this guy. It's the same reason I do diet. It's just this.
I never tasted such terrible
How
food.
long do you have to stay in the line?
We have to walk in lines everywhere.
Do you have to make that line straight?
Oh yeah. Well, frankly, I always thought you didn't have to do anything in prison, but we have a work detail, and it's hard. Just yesterday, I spent the entire day stacking crates, just one on top of the other. Just
I like stack.
you do?
Yeah, I like stack crates, stacking crates.
Yeah, well, it's hard work.
Yes, stacking crates.
Yeah, I don't mean to complain,
One on
but
top of
I
another,
realize
top
what
of
I did
another,
was
top of
wrong.
another, top of another.
I just want to serve my time, and maybe I can get out of here and get back to my family.
Why do you want to get out of here?
For my family.
Then you stack your family.
What?
I want to be in prison.
No, you
I
don't.
want to be in prison.
No, you don't. You see, it takes its toll on you. You wear the same clothes every day, and you live in this tiny little box, and there's hardly any human contact.
How do I get to live here? How do I get to live here? I need to go to prison now.
I don't think you understand it.
Now.
You see, this is a scary place. I mean, sure, there are normal guys like me who are in here for embezzling and fraud, but
that takes too long.
we
I need to go
also
to prison
have
now.
violent
I need to go
offenders.
now.
I mean, the guy in the next cell over, he robbed the convenience store and shot the cashier.
Robbed a convenience store.
Yeah,
I shot
so,
the cashier. Shot the
you know,
cashier.
I mean, it's a scary place. It's rough.
Make sure the cashier is dead.
That kills me every time. That's one of those things, like absolutely timeless. Some like perfect comedy. Perfect.
Yeah, they're so good. They were. Anyway.
Alrighty.
Thanks for chilling, y'all.
We'll see y'all.
Bye-bye.